Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 42 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I'm your host, as always, Brad Ellis. So join me this week, we have Ben Smith. Ben, howdy.
Howdy. How you doing?
Good. Didn't sleep well, I guess, but
I didn't either,
right.
man.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm the only one who slept well in the trio here.
Yes.
I normally, man, I sleep like a rock. When it's time for me to go to sleep, like when I know I'm ready, I'm tired because if I'm not tired, I don't go to bed, which is why I'm up till 5 a.m. most nights. But when I'm tired, I go to bed and I sleep like a rock until I wake up. Last night, I went to bed. I wasn't tired. I laid there for 2 hours, literally. Finally got up, walked around the house, did some stuff, went back and laid down, fell asleep, but woke up like 15 times, then woke up earlier than I normally do. I'm feeling okay right now, though, because I'm here with Brad. But you know, other than that, it wasn't a great night. Something
That's
in the
nice.
air.
Yeah, I woke up 100 times also. I don't know what's going on, but we're here.
I have the ultimate sleep remedy, and it's Silent Hill 2. That game, no exaggeration, I have never been more emotionally exhausted after playing a video game. And this is not like me. I'm like Ben, I'm up late all the time. So it's like midnight, and Laylee's like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, I'll come with. She looked at me funny. She's like, what? I was like, I'm just playing this game. I'm so tired. So I'm an old man. I just go to bed, I read, and I fall asleep. And I've done that like 4 nights in a row just from playing this damn game, man. Like every session, I'm like, I'm so cooked right now. So that's my suggestion. You don't need Valerian Root or melatonin or anything to stay asleep. Just play a little Silent Hill 2. It'll knock you right on.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Matty, this is no joke. Probably about a week ago, I went to message you about something. And I know that usually when I'm awake, you're still awake.
Yes.
And I went to message you and I saw that you were offline and I was like, uh-oh, and looked at the clock and I was like, oh, it's later than I thought it was. But you were my metric for realizing that it was late because you were already offline.
Literally, bro. Like that's the thing with everyone. I think everyone messaged me at any time because I'm usually getting back to everyone probably until like 4 a.m. That's when I usually am like, all right, you probably won't catch me after 4 till 11. That's usually my window where I'm not available.
And of course, I didn't even introduce you yet. Matty.
Hello.
Matty, good to see you again. Good to have you back twice in a row.
I know. Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me twice in a row. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Matty, I'm sorry. You had a rough night last night.
Yeah. I don't know what we're talking about, but yeah. I did playing Silent Hill, but what else was my rough night? We talking about the Mets?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you were catching up on that or anything. I don't want to talk about it. As you can see, I'm back into hockey season.
Oilers,
my Oilers hoodie on. Yeah, short-term memory, boys. I'm hoping that, by the time this episode goes out, at least game 2 will have happened. So I'm hoping that the Mets pull something special off. Right. But it was definitely a sobering reminder of where we are as a team. But fingers crossed, man. You know, I'm not giving up yet. This team is resilient. So I wanted the Dodgers. I just want to make that clear. I wanted them because, like, if you go through them, you win it all. And so you got to face some adversity here. So I predicted the series would go 7. So we have to lose for that to happen. Yeah.
Okay. That'd be exciting. All right. Cool.
You got to lose to have that happen. Maybe we lose 3 in a row and we win 4 in a row after. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not really cook here, no doubt.
I'm not really a huge sports fan at all, but my local team is the Angels, but they're out. They're terrible as always.
Yeah.
But so second will be Dodgers. Sorry, Matty. I'm hoping the Dodgers do win.
Yeah. I hate them for the same reason everyone else does. You know, the amount of superstars they have purchased is frustrating. I can't talk. I'm a Mets fan. We have the richest owner in baseball.
I was about to say, aren't you in New York?
But look, man, like if you look at our roster, we don't have that $1 billion roster. Clearly.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. They got Ohtani recently. So that was a nice pickup. Not for me as an Angels fan, I guess. But
yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You got the worst end of the stick.
Yeah. The Angels kind of suck. But it is what it is. The only sports, I guess, hockey is my favorite, I guess, if I pay attention to sports. The Ducks for me.
Ooh.
But Yeah, not
Yeah, that's rough.
It's not a good time to be an Anaheim sports fan.
No, it's not. It's not a good time. It's okay though. Boys, Halloween season is upon us. Once again, Maddie, we talked about a little bit about this last week, Halloween games, but I got some recommendations from the audience. And Ben, I want you to share one Halloween game recommendation as well, okay?
Ooh, okay.
So you got time to think, though. I'm going to go through the audience first. This is from Crispy. Hey, boys. I have a simple question. It's spooky season. I wanted to know what is the absolute scariest game each of you have played. Mine would be Condemned Criminal Origins, which I absolutely recommend to anyone who hasn't played it. Sure, it might not be as scary as Alien Isolation or Silent Hill 2 Remake nowadays, but back in 2006, as a 15-year-old, it was the scariest fucking thing I'd ever played. Visceral melee combat, murderous hobos hiding behind corners to ambush you, a creepy paranormal twist. It was so scary I remember I had to take breaks because my anxiety would go through the roof. And those damn mannequins. Any game with mannequins that move positions when you're not looking can go fuck itself.
Don't play Silent Hill 2 again.
Yeah. This is a game I've been on my list to play for a very long time. Never played it, missed it, but I've heard it's great. I heard the sequel's not as good, but I still really want to play this.
Yeah. No, I never played this one either, personally.
It's an old Xbox. Was this Xbox One or 360 game? I think it's 360. Okay. Yeah. And we'll read this from Nicholas Brillhart. Greetings, spooky summoners. Writing in with a seasonal recommendation that's part of a compilation. I'm talking about Rare's commercial failure, Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Maybe it's because I got it for just $15 on the Xbox 360, but I enjoyed this short and simple twin-stick brawler from the Banjo team. It's a fun trek through a spooky mansion with a colorful cast of creepy creatures. A very easy weekend game with its short length. I've actually never played this game. I was a big fan of it, Rare in the N64 days. But yeah, I rarely hear anyone talk about this game. Matty, as our Xbox expert, have you ever dived into this?
No, actually, Rare is a big blind spot for me in general because I know a lot of their this was 360, but a lot of their heritage was on Nintendo, which famously I just practically skipped everything Nintendo growing up. Like I instead took my talents to THQ tie-in video games and played things like Jimmy Neutron Jet Fusion because I know how to spend money as a kid. So yeah, these are blind spots for me personally. But I have a friend who really loves Grabbed by the Ghoulies. I always made fun of him for it. So now Nicholas is chiming in about him. I have to give it a look. But for me, my favorite
Rare replay.
Yeah,
yes.
I think it is. Yeah, because
maybe I did touch that. Yeah, maybe I did.
Jet Force Gemini was my favorite discovery through the Rare replay collection. I love that, especially because the controls you could update turned into straight up a third person shooter. That game was awesome. I really loved that one. Then the Battletoads that they did was really good. They have a lot of great games, but Grabbed by the Ghoulies is one I never played from them.
Yeah, I've never really played either. But shout out to Rare Replay. What a collection, man!
So good. We would kill for that nowadays. I remember people getting upset because some of it was digital, some of it was on disc, and I think that's fair. Because you would load up. I remember, did I get a review or I bought it? I don't remember, whatever. But you would load it up, and it would just queue up oh, you're downloading Rare Replay Collection. They would have a bunch of 360 SKUs as well. You download 8 games at once. It was ridiculous. That was the only shitty part about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. So one of the only physical Xbox games I think I have. I think I have that and Like a Dragon, and I think I got Rise, Son of Rome from Game Trailers when they shut down. I think that's about all I had for the Xbox physical.
That's a classic. I love that game.
I know, dude. I've always wanted to play it. I'll play it on PC though because it probably runs better on there.
Yeah,
but I remember it was a showpiece definitely when it came out.
Dude, me and Cog always call it the best 900p game of all time. it's fucking great.
Yeah, man. All right, everybody, before we get into what we're playing, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you'd like to support us, you can get early access to this show. For instance, you'll get it on Tuesday if you are a Patreon over there, $5 and up, or you can get it publicly on Friday. And that includes all of our shows you get early, including Defining Duke, Maddie's Xbox podcast with Lord Cognito, as well as our other stuff. So please check us out on there if you want to support us. We greatly appreciate it. Also, leave us a nice rating. Your podcast service of choice. We want to grow the brand. We want to spread global saturation of the brand. So help us out over there. We'd appreciate it. All right. Maddie.
Well.
Metaphor, ReFantazio is finally out. This is our wheelhouse. This is a brand new Atlas JRPG from Studio Zero. Many of the Persona people. Had you been playing this?
I have. Just real quick timeout. I just want to make sure. Did we have to get Ben's horror game suggestion in? Was that?
Oh yeah, let's rewind. Boop, 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 boop. Ben.
So first they asked, what's the absolute scariest game you've ever played?
Yes.
And I've talked with our buddy Jimmy about this before, Jimmy Champagne, and he's the one who kind of opened my eyes to like horror movies don't have to actually scare you, because that's always my problem. I'm like, it doesn't scare me. And that's not me being a badass. It's me being like too realistic in my brain. I'm like, that couldn't happen. The scariest movies to me are ones that like could actually happen, not ones with, insanely tough bad guys that don't ever die across 40 years of media. But the scariest game I ever remember playing was the Wheel of Time game. I played it on PC back, I don't know, probably 1996, 1997. I was a kid, so like take that with a grain of salt. But I don't remember anything about the game except for it terrified me. I don't know if it was the ambiance or the lightning in the background or what, but that one scared me. As far as recommendations, I don't know. I don't really like seek out spooky games specifically for a season. I play games when I want to play them. I don't have to play a Christmas game at Christmas. I don't have to eat soup in the winter. I can eat it, whenever. But I'm going to say, just because it's on top of mind right now, the Alan Wake 2 is a good spooky game.
Oh yeah.
It's a great spooky, and it's a great game too that I know a lot of people haven't played.
Yeah.
Check out the first one, of course, but that's my recommendation.
Yeah, great recommendation. My biggest qualm with Alan Wake 2 is the annoying jump scare flashes.
I don't like jump scares in general.
They just go for like a second throughout the game, and I'm just like, that's enough of that, guys. That's enough.
Anybody who says jump scares don't scare them is lying, because that's what they do. I mean, maybe it's an expected jump scare. I get it, but
it's in the name.
It doesn't actually scare me in the heart, but it creates a physical response, right? That's what the jump scare is. But I find them cheap. They're not actually. I'd much rather you create like a weird ambiance to scare me than.
Sure, I don't mind jump scares. I just think you have to do them right, like everything, I guess. And there's just good examples and bad examples, and Alan Wake 2 is a bad example of a lot of that for me.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, I should answer this too. I'm a mess because I didn't sleep. But scariest game I ever played is Resident Evil 7 in VR. I played that game in VR. And boy almighty, does VR amplify everything to 100. Like if you're at like a 20 on the scare meter, VR will take it to 100. Holy moly, that game. First playthrough, played a lot of it in VR.
Oh,
freaky.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. I thought you were doing catching on
awesome.
a replay. Oh, wow.
No, it was awesome. It was great. Tough. I loved the experience. I played all the DLCs in VR, and it was so cool. Such an interesting novelty at the time. I mean, VR is still around, but especially back then, like, whoa, Resident Evil game in VR?
Yeah.
And that house dude and Jack Baker coming at you through the walls, dude. Oh my God, Ethan. Heart attack, dude. Ethan. Yeah. Freaked me out.
There's that one jump scare where the wife like turns the corner on you when you're walking through the doorway and like throws you into a hole. That one always got me. It got me. I played the game like 3 times. That got me each time, because you just forget each time. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna go up in the next room of this house, and she just turns the corner and grabs you. In VR, I imagine that's horrible. For me, scariest game, I feel like Outlast comes to mind. The first Outlast.
Oh, Matty, great pick.
I hate horror games that. I think this is why I steer away from horror games, because I played this one all the way through. Number one, fucked up ending, but also just like the fact that you just have to, like, all you can do is hide. Like, you have no answer to anything. Like, you're just constantly vulnerable. And that's the whole point of the game. But I just distinctly remember that was like one of those first games I played on the PS4 when I bought it, and it scared the shit out of me, dude. Like, I actually have a video. I was filming my brother playing, and my mom, I didn't hear her come downstairs, and she like goes boo like that, and you just see the phone drop. I'm like, what the fuck? It's pretty good. Awesome. But that game comes to mind for me. If anyone's looking for a good spooky game this Halloween season.
Yeah, excellent pick. All right, enough Halloween talk. All right, for real, metaphor, ReFantazio. Now we are back to it. Matty, let's start with you. I know you've been playing. First of all, before we get into it, what's your play time right now?
About 10 hours.
That's where I'm about as well.
Yeah, I'm like in the middle of the first major dungeon, it seems like.
Okay, so what we'll do, Matty, is we'll try to do spoiler-free stuff for the first part.
Yeah.
Then if we want to get into more plot or whatever, then we can do that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But let's just do general feel for now.
I mean, Nothing negative to say, dude. It is, yeah. I mean, expected, by the way, but I guess you were wondering if like, oh, you see some similarities with Persona. How is it going to carry over into this? How they make it feel fresh? Just a lot of unique wrinkles added to the formula. You kind of know the style is here, where you know and love it, but like the way the menus and the screen wipes and the transitions, just buttery smooth, but really the pacing of the game is much stronger than I first expected. Coming out of the prologue, I was like, people will struggle with this because the game just stops you every 5 seconds for dialogue. But the game just opens up really quick, I feel like, compared to its, I feel like they just keep getting better with that stuff. I remember Persona 5 famously, everyone hated Morgana, telling you to go to sleep. They adjusted that in Royal, and I feel like they've taken that feedback to heart, making sure you're kind of let off the chain pretty quickly. Like one of the best surprises I felt was that actual social gameplay is going to bring you to like new dungeons that you can explore across the map. And like the wrinkle that's new here is time spent going from point A to point B. It's not just like, oh, you work the kitchen for the afternoon. It's like you travel to this part of the map. That took a day. Now you're going back. That's going to take another day. And so that kind of mental math you have to quickly do as the timer's ticking to your next main story objective. I just think they continue to add things that are extremely appealing for you to want to do. And you're like, how do I do all of this? And it's a really fun challenge to take on. The characters so far have been great. I don't have anything like any strong opinions on them because it's too early to really say, but I love how like forward facing the villain is, because I know these games, right? Like I'm sure this is the main villain. Atlas always has one hand behind the back with that stuff. I'm sure this will change into someone else, or it'll be a much higher being. It's an Atlas game. I'll be surprised if that's not the case. So I'm curious what they're doing, because they're being very aggressive out the gate with like, this is your villain. So yeah, just from story to style to the gameplay with like the new synthesis skills, even like, are just, it's awesome from top to bottom. It's just awesome. And I love the archetype system. It's just a job system, really, if you want to simplify it. But it's super effective in just like customization, and certain dungeons react to different jobs in certain ways. So like, oh, you don't want to have like a mage in this dungeon because it'll piss off these enemies and they're going to hit you much harder and get an extra turn out of you. And also I found the game like a touch more difficult compared to Persona, where like, like Persona, you'll have the edge if you get like the jump on random encounters. But if you don't, or if it's on equal footing, these enemies will slap you in the face, dude. They will just put you right on your ass, no problem. So the game has no problem punishing you, which I appreciate. And I think longtime Persona fans will appreciate, because one of the growing complaints between like 3 Reload and 5 Royal was, it's getting a little easy out here, Atlas. So I think they've responded well, and hard mode actually gives the enemy an extra turn, which is what I've been playing on. So
really? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
It definitely will increase the play clock, because some of these fights are way tougher. You have to be way more methodical, even in the random encounters, but I think it's to the betterment of the game. I did test normal for a dungeon, and I still think it's a good challenge, but I've kind of stuck with hard mode. It's really tough.
I've been playing on normal, and I think it's been fine most of the time, the whole way through. I haven't been like stomping everything, and I've played many JRPGs in my life, and of course Persona 3, 4, 5, so I'm very familiar with their game and everything like that. But like, like Matty said, if you don't get the jump on some guys, or if they get the jump on you, they're gonna mess you up big time. Matty, it's really funny you talk about that dungeon where like, if you have like a rod or something equipped, the enemies get pissed. I did that whole dungeon with the rod.
I did too.
I thought it was
a mage. I was like, I don't have anything to switch to. I sold all my extra weapons. I was totally stuck. I was like, all right, because I got to rock with it.
I thought it was just going to be the boss or whatever. That's Same. Like, I thought they were talking about the boss. Then I was like, oh, they're talking about the whole dungeon. I was like, damn, dude. But it's been fun. Before I get in my stuff, Ben, have you played this at all? I know you're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested. Timing is just not right for me to be able to buy right now. But I played a few hours of the demo a couple weeks ago when it came out. I want to say like 3 or 4 hours, probably. Which I was impressed, first of all, that there was that long of a demo, and I didn't even see everything there was. I was like, okay, I'll just wait till some later date. And I've played, Persona 4 very little bit. I played Persona 5 probably 30, 40 hours. I didn't finish it. I'm not by any means Atlas connoisseur, but I will say that I was very impressed with this one. First of all, it just felt more adult to me. The game, the themes, the characters, the things you actually were doing in those first couple hours, it felt much less, high schooly, as the case is. And also the thing that really impressed me, I always thought, Persona 5 and Royal, I played a little bit of both of them, it was pretty well paced as far as the actual combat and everything, but it's so much better in Metaphor, I think. Like everything, as soon as you click the button, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that was a detriment for me to Persona, but it's noticeably better for me with Metaphor. Mm-hmm. So that's my very surface level things. I want to play it, and I think it seems like it has a really good story to it. My longevity with JRPGs is not, in my adult years, has not been great. I don't tend to finish them, but I like playing them. So yeah, I'll get to it at some point.
But you did finish Rebirth.
I did finish Rebirth, yeah.
My boy.
I finished Rebirth. I 100%ed everything until you get to New Game Plus. Like I didn't do... Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you spent like 90 hours in that game or something.
I think it was like 105 because I played I played on the highest difficulty you could play on before. I guess that's just normal, right?
Yeah.
Before you get to New Game Plus, yeah. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some challenging stuff in Rebirth. Some of those optional boss fights are pretty tough.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. In Rebirth, I did everything you could do that wasn't unlocked in New Game Plus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Matty, I kind of want to talk to you about this because, we're big Persona fans. And I've noticed right off the bat, you guys were kind of talking about this earlier, but the pacing and the introduction to the game, I feel like is way better at just getting you into this world and get going. Like we think of Persona 5, we love Persona 5 Royal and all that stuff. Yeah. But it's like a 10-hour intro. It feels like that. Like you're in that first palace a lot. You're going back and forth. The story builds very slowly. And this is way more of a, I don't know, for lack of a better word, epic, grand, sprawling story, much higher stakes, I would say.
Yeah.
Persona is like a very small, well, there's like a bigger thing, but earlier on, it's very like small scale, one person kind of thing, being a bad person, but not being like a psychopath ruler or anything like that. Like there is lots of death and blood. Very like the first thing in the game, there's blood, there's death. It's like a huge tonal shift, and I really appreciate that. And I think it's been really cool to see them kind of in a brand new environment. I love the school environment. I think it's great, but I know a lot of people don't. So I'm very curious to hear like a lot of other people are saying about who it's like their first time, I guess, coming in an Atlas game like that. But I think it's been really well done. I like the art style a lot. Of course, the creature design is fantastic as always. Some of these bosses look horrifying in like the best kind of ways. Like, man, fantastic stuff. They're all called like it's weird. The demons in this game or whatever are called humans. Yeah. Where it's like they are freaks, man. And it's great. I love all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it is different, but there's a lot of, Atlas / Persona things in this game. How we were talking about like the day cycle or whatever like that. But I think it does a way better job at easing you into all this, like giving you more freedom right away. Like how you were saying with Morgana constantly in like the original base version of 5 was like, go to bed. It's time to go to bed. But in this one earlier on, they let you actually go out and kind of explore a little bit and find people to talk to. So I've been really enjoying all that. This has got all the bells and whistles you'd expect from Persona game, like the 5 or whatever stats you level up. Like, what is it called this time around? There's like imagination, there's tolerance, I think.
Imagination, tolerance, eloquence. I had it written down.
Is there like knowledge, one of them or something? Or I'm not sure which one of them.
Wisdom.
Yeah, that's it. Wisdom. But there's like those new stats. So, of course, I'm addicted to leveling all those up. And it's great. I like because you can see on the chart, it seems very clear when you're going to level up, or much more clear, I would say. Because I remember in some like, maybe this is when I played Reload, some of Reload this year, it was like, you'd raise your stats into something like Courage or something like that. And I didn't really know how close I was to the next one as well. But this one I feel much more confident knowing when I'm going to hit something. So I really appreciate that. Maybe that wasn't like a Reload or something like that. But at this time, it just seems much more upfront to me. Yeah. The cast so far, Matty, I've enjoyed very much so. I think they're great. I really like the first character you meet, Stroll, because
he's cool.
He fills that Yosuke, Junpei role, Ryuji role kind of like that, but he's not like a complete idiot comic relief, like those three characters are. So it's been kind of refreshing. Like he's like your bro, and I like that a lot because your first character is always like your best friend kind of guy right off the bat, and he is that character, but he's a very not sophisticated, but he's not a complete moron. He's smart, actually, like that, and he comes from a noble background, so it's really great to learn about him.
Yeah, he's kind of a tragic character as well. Like,
yeah, he is,
and you learn that pretty fast. Like, that's the interesting thing about the character pacing is like Hulkenberg, Stroll. Like, you learn about these characters and why they're here extremely quick, which makes me it just sets the table for like, okay, well, you moved into that quick, and now I'm wondering, like, usually this is like hour 20, 30 stuff for Atlas. So I'm like, what are you guys going to do then? Like, how are you developing this? How does this change? I just expect a lot of drama involved in like, you know, we'll talk about it when we're like briefly getting the spoilers, but yeah, just like Stroll's backstory. I'm like, there's gotta be a little bit more to this, and like kind of the impact it could have on him if other people were involved in it that may be close to him. Just a lot of surprise decisions made as well with other characters that I won't say more, but yeah, just I was very surprised with some of the choices they made pacing wise, where I agree, like it just it just ramps it up quickly, pulls you in closer to them a little bit. Hulkenberg is like my favorite. I just think she just looks
she's
cool,
awesome.
Dude. She's
looks
awesome, cool, man. Like I just love this elven knight kind of approach there. Like as anytime I play a fantasy game, I always build elf. So like naturally when I saw her, I was like, okay, got to get to know you as soon as possible. But yeah, I love how the character design is done. I don't know if you agree with this, but like I love how they all look a little human, but like Fabian looks kind of like she has like a tail, or obviously, you know, Hulkenberg kind of has the long elf ears, but there's almost like fur at the end of them. It's just really interesting to see how they capture that, because it's a big part of the messaging of the game. Like it kind of opens up really just focusing on racism like the whole time. Like, and you're sort of at the center of it. Like you're this Elda, and they're like I remember with what happens in the story, they're like, oh, this happens, and an Elda's here, like the sky is falling, you know, like you're just the sign of bad luck, and you can't control that based on how you look. Like you're just who you are. I just love that Atlas isn't shying, or Studio Zero isn't shying away from the tough subjects that they're known to tackle, because they do it with such great care, I feel. And this game, I think the theme behind it is really unique. Like I'm not a fantasy head, but what I love about this game is how like your character has this storybook of like a ideal world, and it's kind of like an escape for him. And it's like, well, I'm doing the same thing. It's like, yeah, there's this whole ugly world around us. There's a lot of good in it, but there's a lot of awful stuff in it. And I'm playing this game to maybe just take a step away from that. I also look at games as a way to just, you know, an artist commentary on the world, but a kind of interesting connection with my protagonist immediately happened there. I was like, this is very different. Like I really appreciate how they're approaching it that way. Cause again, I could, knowing Atlas, I could see them doing some really fucking cool stuff with that theme.
Yeah, I agree. It is an interesting theme. I mean, it's not the first game to do this kind of stuff, but I am curious to see how Atlas will handle it as the game goes on, because it is a huge part of the game. Like you're saying, your main character, everyone pretty much looks down on you, and like racism and like classism is like a very open thing in this game, and it's just like the way the society is and people accept it. So it is a big part of the game, just dealing with all that kind of stuff. I'm curious to see, where they go from there, because it seems like the big main theme of the game. So I'm curious how they'll handle it. But so far, I think it's been good. So I'm enjoying that. What's the Velvet Room area called in this again? Academia, that's right. You got there. You got your Igor-esque character this time around as well.
What a great name.
Yes. I like him a lot. He's cool. And like you were saying, the class system or whatever it's called, the archetypes, I really think this is a great thing. Like in Persona games, usually your party members have their persona and it's bound to them, and that's just the way they are, their loadout and stuff like that. But in this game, you can switch everyone around, including yourself. So I've been having a lot of fun with that kind of stuff, and it's been definitely scenarios around like, oh, I should definitely switch to this guy for this fight. It'll help out a lot. So I've been enjoying that, and I always love in job systems when you can take some skills from a job that you unlearn and bring it to a new class. So that's been a lot of fun. And I love the job systems in like Final Fantasy already. So this is right up my alley. So I've been very happy with all that kind of stuff. Been having a lot of fun unlocking them and looking forward to seeing what new ones I get. There's some cool stuff like incentives in the game that like someone incentivizes you to level up a certain class, like to a certain level, and you'll maybe get a reward for that. So I appreciate them like kind of nudging you to do some stuff to get people out of their comfort zone. Cause I know a lot of people could probably get locked into maybe one or two classes And I think that happens to a lot of people. So it is just cool to push you to kind of explore more. Because if you do, you're going to get way more powerful. So
they kind of incentivize it in a good way because they treat it like a piece of equipment. Like when I was in that dungeon we were talking about and you get to that boss, like I think having the rod is not a good call. And so I switched my character over to knight, just like I would switch my sword or something like that. And it totally changed the dynamic of the fight. But I love that they, at first I was worried like, oh, they're going to just like make me go to academia anytime I want to change this thing out. But once you unlock it, it's yours to do and pull out whenever you want. And what I also like is that, they explore the kind of tropes you'd expect, like warrior, mage. I'm like, okay, I haven't tried it out yet, but I unlocked merchant, dude. And I was like,
ooh,
okay, what's going on here? So I'm very keen to check that one out. I haven't played in a couple of days just because I've been playing a lot of Silent Hill. But yeah, like I just right there, I saw the potential of, like each follower is going to have their own class or archetype, I should say. And I'm curious what other ones they've packed in here because, again, the options are really cool. And I haven't really found a good class for Stroll yet. He dies the most in my party. Like he just.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like Hulkenberg's fine. My character's fine. I've built my character as a mage, and so I'm always backlining, just nuking people with spells. But
yeah,
Stroll's always on his back, man. This guy is always getting knocked out. So I put him as warrior, gave him my best equipment, still getting knocked out. I'm like, all right, we gotta find something for Stroll here. So he's a work in progress right now. But that's the fun of the game is trying to figure out like what works with each character.
Yeah, I think he's a brawler for me right now. And I've been feeling that with him. It's been cool. Like I got him to warrior pretty high, then I switched to brawler.
Okay.
I was like, he's gonna be my main strength character, I guess, right now. That's kind of way he was laid out.
That was the vibe I was going for, but when he wasn't really clicking with warrior, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I switched to the seeker and had him inherit a healing spell, and I was like, all right, you're just gonna be like a hybrid at this point, dude. Like that's the best I can ask from you right now.
Figure it out. Well, you're playing on hard, so yeah, you probably got to experiment way more and dive into all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's probably part of it. So far the day and night cycle, very Persona. I think it's been good so far. I've definitely had things where I'm like, well, I want to do this, well, I want to do that. And I think that's a really great feeling to have in these kind of games for me, where I'm like, I don't know what to pick. So you just kind of follow your heart. This is going to drive people crazy. Some people who like to min-max everything. Yeah. But I embrace it.
It's cool that they have the network feature that they introduced with Persona 4 Golden on Vita, where like you can see what everyone did that day, so you don't really miss something like, 75% of people went and did this, and that. Wait, I've never seen that. Like, I can go hear a story from like a pagan or something like that. I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm gonna go seek that out. So that's a good way for those who are a little intimidated to kind of like seek and destroy, if you will, and make sure you see everything and do everything. It's going to be tough to have a perfect run in these games. Usually there's a guide. I don't know if this game will require that, because I got to rank 2 of wisdom like really fast. Like it took like 2 activities or 3 activities, and I had rank 2 already. So I don't know if like the progression's a little quicker in this game. We'll see long term, but I imagine maybe it is just because you get these like royal virtue points for like completing side quests. Like I finished 2 requests, and they were like, here's some extra points, and then it also happened with just naturally doing activities. So you get a lot of these. And if maybe you account for like, well, there's dungeon crawling and there's map exploration beyond that normal activity stuff you'd participate in a Persona-like game, maybe they do make the progression a little easier. That would be nice, but we'll see. Don't be intimidated if anyone's listening. They handle it a lot better compared to Persona.
Yeah. They don't overwhelm you right now, but they at least kind of give you that feeling. You're going to have to make some choices.
Yeah.
That's fun. I love all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just general thoughts so far. Really enjoying it. I was in bed last night thinking about it, so I'm like, yes, this is good. This is the kind of feeling I want. I was like, I can't wait to play more. So I love that kind of stuff. Matty, let's talk about a little bit about spoilers, just a little bit. So you and me are about 10 hours in. I think you're slightly ahead of me, just from what you've said. Not much further, but narrative and all that stuff like that. Characters, we were talking about Stroll, so we're in spoilers once again, everybody. If you don't want to know anything about some of the plot, get out of here. Ben, I'll try to keep it merciful for you. But I'm sure you saw Stroll's story, at least, because it's very early on. But he is a noble from like a town, and his town was destroyed, and he's the last of his line or whatever, his family like that. I think it's a really cool jump from, the teenagers in high school just being like, oh, I got kicked off the track team, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just think it's a very fun departure coming from like a Persona game to that.
Yeah.
Maddie, how are you feeling about everyone's narratives so far?
I love how I will say, I thought Hulkenberg's awakening moment was a little rushed feeling. Like, you know, we're setting up the dungeon, so we need to just get her in and awaken her because you need a third party member. And that's kind of felt like, which was a little disappointing. Because like Stroll had a really good build up. Like you saw him talking his talk, walking the walk. And then when like push came to shove with, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, who was the really mean military captain, that kind of caused him to awaken when he realized like who is at the heart of this. And I think you can tell, I won't spoil anything, but I think you can really tell by playing this game that Atlas loves Attack on Titan. It feels just very Attack on Titan coded. Like if you go to, did you ever do the activity where you like just people watch like to get wisdom points? Have you ever looked out into the city beyond that wall? It is literally like straight out of Attack on Titan. Like you see the wall erected, like a bunch of like the red roofs just lined up. I'm like, wow, this is artistically so Attack on Titan coded. The way that humans, like these crazy looking beasts, are terrorizing living beings, I'm just like, oh, this is very much like the Titans in Attack on Titan. And then you have this I won't say what character reminds me of, but Stroll reminds me of a certain character from Attack on Titan, like village destroyed, lone survivor, tragic upbringing, except that he's got an air of nobility to him. So I like his story in the terms of the side characters the most. Hulkenberg I want to like the most. I was surprised about Grease. I did not. I thought he was a mainstay, bro.
I knew he was gone.
Yeah, really? I was like, great voice actor. Like
he is I love
like
him,
his
though.
Look, everything. I usually don't bite on that. I'm right there with you. I usually don't bite, but I bit because I'm like, this guy's way too cool to kill off.
Yeah. Soon as he didn't have like an awakening, you just equip one of them to him right away. I was like, oh yeah, he's dead. Because they didn't find it important enough for to have his awakening or whatever like that. So it's like, he's dead. But I loved him. He was so sick. I wish he was around for more of it.
Yeah.
But he was awesome. I love his relationship with Maria, his daughter.
Yeah, Maria, immediately I was like, we need to take care of this kid. Like, we had to do all we can. Like these fatherly instincts I did not know I had just kicked in. I was like, we need to protect her.
What was her name in 4? I forgot.
Nanako?
Yeah, Nanako. I was like, oh yeah, Nanako vibes right here. Kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
Little sister, watch out for her. Really good shit.
Do you like that the main character's voiced? I think it adds to those interactions like that.
Yeah, I think it's a good step. I do think it's a good step because he doesn't talk too much. They definitely keep him more silent. Like he does talk, but he's not talking as much as like Stroll and Hulkenberg and like that. And I think that's the right way to do it. It kind of reminds me, Maddie, if they ever have Link talk in Zelda, like I think that's the way you do it. Just kind of like short sentences and not very frequent, because I think he's going to talk someday. It's just the way it is, especially because they're doing a Zelda movie. So yeah, it's going to happen. But I was like, oh, that's the way they should do it in Zelda. So far, the voice acting, though, I think it's been pretty good. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I think the best thing I can say is that I feel like Atlas is usually at the heart of getting very familiar voices that we like know and love for JRPGs, or introducing the next era. Like, I feel like they just put talent on the map each time. And this feels like they did it again. Like, just a lot of new feeling voices that I'm sure I'll come to hear in a ton of games moving down the road now. But like, I just love that they picked out, like, at least so far, I think more might be Greg Chun. I don't know, but it sounded familiar. But I love Greg Chun, so I was like, that's fine with me. But I feel like they've done a good job, just at least to the ear test. Maybe these are actors and actresses I've heard before, but to the ear test, they've picked out unique sounding characters that don't really like, oh, that's Robbie Damon, or oh, that's Erica Lindbeck. Like, you know, these very talented actors and actresses that I've heard a lot of times before. It was cool to hear something pretty fresh, but performance wise, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Ben, how far did you get? I'll try to keep it light for you.
I could step away too or whatever, but
no, it's fine.
You mean as far as the actual progress?
Like what in the narrative, what happened for you?
I don't remember, to be honest. Okay. I was going to start it over when I start, but I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 4 hours, I guess.
Okay.
But that's obviously going to be different for everybody.
Okay.
To some extent.
I don't know if this is a spoiler for you, Ben, or not. So take off your headphones for a second.
Okay.
It's like it's the premise of the game.
Just wave at me.
Okay.
It's what do you think about the story of kings? This competition for the king.
Yeah, I love the idea. It especially because you can for the thing that's most ominous is there's a third face that no one recognizes.
Yeah,
Right? Like you
yeah.
see Luis, you see the other dude who actually I don't even know his name yet. And then you see like a third face. Everyone's like, who's the third face? I'm like, oh well, it's gotta be me. I'm like, maybe.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
So I enjoy that a lot. And I like this sense of competition that's going on. It sounds really fun. So
it's
looking
weird because
forward
they
to
kind of like throw it at you. They throw it at you like narratively that like, oh,
Mhm.
there's a game being set up here that like, you're gonna vie for king for like to become king. But no one, at least so far in the story, has said like we're gonna go ahead and try this. It's just like they kick you into the social stuff. They're like, it's time to work on your royal virtues if you want to rise to the top. I'm like, oh, so
Yeah.
is this just like innately decided? Like there was no addressing, at least thus far in the story, there was no addressing like we're gonna go become king. We need to fight back this way. So maybe that's where they just adjust the pacing and let the story take a small, tiny little glance of a hit from it. But overall, I like the idea. I like the premise of any sort of game within a
Mhm.
game where they're like, especially because I didn't expect them to introduce it that way, where like the king is basically still alive overseeing this game. And sort of that visibility, because they put like an eye above everyone's head, like this sort of visibility everyone has on, I guess, who's participating in the game. Was really interesting too. So it reminds me of, this is a really, really obscure example. I'm sure no one in the audience will catch this one. If they do, write it down below in the comments. But it reminds me of Tales of Christoria, which was a
Mm.
mobile Tales of game. And it I'm not going to lie, I'm not a mobile gamer, but it had and a gotcha gamer at that, but it had a really good story. It's a shame it got shut down. But the story was something along the lines of like, there are these orbs that allow you to see each other. It was pretty much a commentary on like social media and like how we can see each other's actions. And like, what if like we were that directly connected that I could see like what Ben was doing after we sign off the show and I could hold him accountable for it. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of that with this game, where like there's going to be a level of accountability. There's going to be a point where people see something they shouldn't have seen and it's going to maybe cause an
Mhm.
uprising. So I'm very excited to see where they go with that, because I think it's a really cool narrative tool.
Yeah, I think just the visual of the king or whatever, it's just like
Mhm.
Majora's Mask moon,
Yes.
essentially just hanging
Yep.
over is very ominous, and I really like it. Feels very spooky. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far so good with the game. Can't wait to play more. Loving it.
Agreed.
Dive in more as we go on through the weeks. I can't wait to talk about it when we all finish it too. Get all those thoughts when we finish it in 2 months. But until then, we will report back. Let's hear from the listeners about the game. This is from the Snack Squatch. Hey guys, how are you liking Metaphor? I have to say this. This game is something special. As much as I love the Persona series, this game just has something different about it. The story, the character, the music, Atlas and my eyes are currently kings of JRPGs. With already selling over 1 million copies, it goes to show people still want high-quality turn-based classic JRPGs. Thanks for all you do. Man, I wish Square Enix was like this about their games selling well, instead of being like, well, it only sold 3 million in a week. Atlas is like, we sold 1 million. All right. It's like, Square, come on, guys.
Yeah. I think
You need to
Atlas
celebrate that stuff.
manages to keep, I'm just assuming from the outside looking in, I think Atlas can hit a profitable area a lot easier because their presentation hinges a lot on their art department.
Yes.
And their transition work. Like if people don't realize it, is that I say this in my video, but Metaphor has a shit ton of loading screens, just like any Atlas game. There's so many. Why don't you notice it? It's because of the art that they use to cover it up. Like when you're walking from one point of the city to the other, it's like your main character kind of walking around a bunch of silhouettes, and then it goes to the next one. Or Persona 5, instead of making a bunch of NPCs, they make them all faceless and they just tie it into the theme of the game. Like it's brilliant. Probably keeps their cost way lower. And so, them selling over 1 million copies in a day, they're probably like, holy fuck, dude. The fact that this beat out Persona, like which just had a record earlier this year, Persona 3 Reload, 1 million copies in a week. It was like, oh shit, okay, cool. We'd love to see that. This having 1 million copies in a day, they have to be over the moon. It was probably such like a relief to say, oh my God, our new IP is like actually moving faster than Persona. Because now imagine what Persona 6 will do. If Persona 6 is multi-plat, oh man, which I think it will be.
Yeah, I think it will be.
I think this will be, like I've been saying, I might have been a little early on it though, but I've been saying I feel like Atlas is getting to their Square Enix moment of like recognition, where they're just going to be selling, like half of like 5 million copies or something like that. And so I hope they do that with Persona 6. Like I feel like they'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. All right, this is from Johnny. Hey, Brad, can we talk about the Metaphor demo progress not transferring to the main game? Question marks. I fired up the game on release day one, or fired up the game on release day, only to see no option to transfer my save, and now Steam is suggesting a simple fix of 13 steps to literally move the save files over. Issuing a stand down, I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, Johnny. Damn, dude, Johnny, that sucks ass.
Yeah.
I played on PlayStation, and I had demo progress and asked me if I wanted to import it. I chose to restart from the beginning because it had been like a week or two. But it popped up for me, and I haven't heard about this anywhere else. I don't know if this is a PC thing or whatnot. I don't know. Have you guys heard anything about this?
No.
No, I haven't either. But I also didn't do the demo because I didn't want to like break up my progress at all. I just wanted to like make sure when I started that I could keep going when I want to and stop when I want to. And so I actually haven't heard of this though.
That sucks, so John. I'm sorry, man. Like, depending on how much time you spent on that, I know because the demo was huge. Of course, I didn't finish the demo, but people tell me it's a very long amount of stuff you could do in it. So
yeah,
that sucks ass. Hopefully, you get it all sorted though. All right, this is from Shadi Haddad. Hey, Ifrit, Shiva, and Ramu. I'll let you guess who's who. Ben, you'll be Ramu because you have a big beard like Ramu.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And I don't know. The other two we'll figure
pick
out.
wisely, Brad. Are you going to make me the one?
Yeah, I was going to say, who's Shiva?
I'll be Shiva. Ice is cool, man.
Shiva's cool.
Yeah, they're both cool.
I can see Brad ripping like what Clive, wasn't it? Clyde?
Yeah, Clive.
Yeah, we're just come, Ifrit.
Ifrit.
Yeah. So I feel like that's you, Brad. You're a freak.
All right, I'll take it. I feel like I'm going crazy, but Metaphor isn't grabbing me at all. I'm not digging the fantasy / Fire Emblem aesthetic, and most of the time I felt like I'm playing a reskin Persona 5. I love Persona 3 through 5, but something about this game, which I should be loving, is not clicking. I'm over 20 hours in, holy god, and the cast is not super appealing. The non-turn-based combat feels tacked on. The hype of a political-themed narrative has been fairly superficial in its messaging as opposed to something deep. I'm just not seeing why this got the scores it did or why it belongs in the GOTY conversation. Matty, what do you think about all this?
It depends, I think, on how you look at some things. Obviously, like the opinion's valid. I get it. And in a lot of ways, it kind of is reskin P5, but P5 is also incredibly good. And they recognize that. And they're like, we're not going to let these ideas go. And I didn't want them to personally as like a huge Atlas fan. And I think they found enough wrinkles here in like the storytelling and the nuance that's there, the way they introduce characters. But to me, it's also like a response. You brought up Fire Emblem aesthetic, and that's what I kind of viewed this game as, is Fire Emblem really just stepped into Persona territory for what, by the way, I know a lot of people love what Fire Emblem was doing. I say for whatever fucking reason, because I don't like the direction Fire Emblem's been in since Awakening. Awakening's amazing. It's like my favorite Fire Emblem game. And I just feel like you stepping away from like permadeath and going down this Persona route and their socials gameplay, I'm like, that's not what fucking Fire Emblem is at all. And I feel like Atlas saw that, was like, oh, okay, all right, let's do our own fantasy game and show them how. Because like the problem I have with it is like Three Houses, I just didn't think balanced the social gameplay well at all. Like you were just eating the same meal like 4 times a day by the final 2 months of the game. It was awful. It was literally like exactly what highlighted why Atlas is so good at what they do. Because anyone who tries to imitate it, even a big player like a Fire Emblem, can't do it well. We've seen tons of games like Caligula Effect tried to do social gameplay. So like I feel like Atlas is kind of, for lack of a better term, like, backing up, like we can do it over here as well. And I got a good kick out of that, is how, from my interpretation. So I love that they're like showing, oh, like we can go over here and do fantasy, and we can do our social gameplay, and we can do it better than our competitors. And I think they're doing that. So I get where Shadi's coming from, but for me, not only that, but I think it is refreshingly political is what I would say. It's not, because a lot of games are shying away from it because of how online discourse is. I love this game's like, fuck it. Like, we're just gonna like deal with it, dude. We're just going for it. And no one's really talking about that aspect, which is like, it's so funny. Everyone's like, keep politics out of our games. I'm like, here's the most political game of the year, potentially. What are we gonna do about it? Like, it's really fucking good. So I get where Shadi's coming from. Respectfully, I disagree though.
Yeah, what do you think about the non-turn-based combat parts, Matty? What do you mean talk about that?
I like it because, like, I guess for me, I have the Trails background, so they're the ones who really introduced this whole idea. Them, and I think Remake followed it up quickly after. But Falcom with Trails Through Daybreak introduced the idea of, like, we're gonna do action gameplay and you can engage in turn based when you want. The difference with Trails Through Daybreak is you could kill characters or enemies, I should say, with just that action combat. Just turn it into straight up a hack and slash if you're a high enough level. What I like about this game is it's like, no, it's like 90-10 in the turn-based action hybrid. Like, you're going to use the action to set up your advantage rather than just like, show me your true form and jumping on the enemy's back like in Persona 5. It's not like that, which I prefer. I say that because for me, I hated in like Persona 4, if I had any complaint about the game, it's like running laps around my enemies until I could get like the backslash and get the advantage. This just removes all that. It's like, can you dodge? Can you hit them enough times before they clap back? And so to me, it's a great adjustment to setting up advantage from what I previously had a problem with. So I can see how it feels tacked on, because some people probably thought, oh, I can like just cut through these enemies. And in fairness, you can in this game when you're a high enough level. Mob enemies will just go down in a swing of your sword or a swing of your staff, maybe. But for me, it works because it adjusts the engage element of the game that I wasn't a crazy fan of.
Yeah, I actually like it a lot too right now because it just breaks up the pace in combat and a nice level. And it is satisfying, honestly, when you level up and now you can start just like beating these guys up in real time that you couldn't before. It gives it like a nice sense of progression that I really like.
Yeah.
So far it's been good, but as we get through the game later on, we'll see. In it, I prefer that instead of just getting in combat, constantly having to one-shot everything and just slowing everything down. Yeah. So I like it more right now.
They also, from when I tested the game for a preview a couple months ago and now, one thing I noticed that's different, I don't know if they adjusted it or if it's just something that is working in my favor more, but one thing that I thought Falcom did better was, let's say I saw 3 enemies, I could slash them down, take them out. Let's say I kill one and I start the turn-based fight, it'd be 2 enemies. Whereas in Metaphor, when I first tested it, let's say I had a group of 3 enemies and I started turn-based combat with one of them, I would finish that battle and then the other 2 would remain. I'm like, fuck, dude, like now I got to fight you, and it became a little more methodical. I haven't had that problem here. Like I would fight one and it would just be a bigger fight and the other 2 would be gone when I came back into the overworld. So I don't know if that's an adjustment they made last minute, but it tremendously improves the feel for me, where I'm not just like kind of going through fights a ton. And I love it also because they've set up some interesting traps. Like in that dungeon we were talking about earlier, Brad, there's this one point where a bunch of like beasts are running at you, and behind me is a bunch of goblins running at me. I'm like, oh fuck. And I fought a ton in that section. I mean, got a ton of XP and ranked up my archetypes because of it. But yeah, it was like, I like how they've played with it thus far. It's a little bit different from what I've experienced, but I think in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, because it just separates itself more from Persona. So I appreciate that. It feels a little more unique to itself.
Agreed.
All right. Ben, thank you for sitting through a lot of that. I know.
No worries. I was interested, so
we didn't want to spoil too much for you, but we will look forward to your thoughts as well when you dive in. But now, Ben, it is your time to shine, my friend. You've been playing Hunt Showdown pretty frequently with our buddy Justin.
Yeah, and a few others as well. I've got some EU sweat friends that are really in the Hunt, and I've been playing with them. I feel like everybody I know from anywhere in Europe, except for Lockmort, but everybody else that I know, no, I'm just kidding. I love Lock, but is just like superbly good at shooters. They just make them different over there, including Lock. He's definitely different. Yeah. Anyway,
hold on. Let me stop you real quick. Before you explain your thoughts on it, let me just read this question. This is from Genesis Point. Hey, Summoner, saw Ben is playing Hunt and wanted to know his opinion on it. There are not a lot of games that give you the dick-throbbing highs and the gun-in-your-mouth lows that Hunt does. Also, spooky game recommendation is Phasmophobia. Would be a fun time with the Elsum crew. Keep up the awesome. Yeah, Ben, so this is just explain what the game is to people, first of all, who don't know what it is.
So Hunt originally came out in, I think, 2018. It's been about 6 years
that sounds right.
Or so. And this is a game that, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, Dustin wanted to play, and he wanted to play with our buddy Jimmy. And
Jimmy Champagne.
Jimmy Champagne, yeah. Like right around the time that we all first met. And so Dustin bought it for me, and we played a little bit then. I probably played like 15, 20 hours years ago. But of course, I remember very little of that. But what got me interested was that Hunt Crytek just did an engine update. They updated to their newer engine and basically made a whole new map. The game is very much still just Hunt Showdown, but a lot of things changed. Different things changed. But for those who don't know, Hunt is a PvPvE, I guess for lack of a better word, extraction shooter.
Mm-hmm.
You load in. The goal is to go and find out where these monsters are, called the bounties, to get the bounties and then to get out. And of course, this is unlike a lot of other PvE, VP, whatever it is, shooters, in that PvP is very much a part of it. And PvE is very much a part of it. You really can't do one without doing the other. You can, but it's not the point of the game. Like it's tough to do. And so during that time, you go in, you find these clues that lead you then to the boss. These different bounties. Sometimes there's one on the map. Sometimes there's two. Sometimes there's a hidden boss, etc. And you go in. You either decide you're going to try to take out the bounty, or you're going to wait while somebody else takes out the bounty and then take them out and take the bounty off of them. One of the things that makes Hunt really interesting is that it's set in 1896, so all of your weapons, everything is, and of course, when they updated the game, they actually changed the name of the game to have 1896 included in it when they changed the engine. But one of the things that makes it interesting is that even though you have all these old weapons and everything, there's kind of this mystical point of it. Yeah, there's zombies and stuff like that. That's whatever. But there's a lot of lore that you can uncover some in the game, but a lot of it you have to seek out on the side. But you also have this thing called dark sight, where you actually, you put your hands up and the world turns kind of dark and you can see the clues glowing in the distance. And this may be in another compound or a little further away or something like that. Once you get the bounty from the boss that you kill, or you steal it from someone else who got it, you pick it up and you have boosted dark sight, which actually enables you to see enemies in that dark sight. You have a limited amount of time, so every time you look in that dark sight, you burn a little bit of that ability. And then you're not really able to see exactly where they are, but you see kind of a little trace, an orange trace of where approximately the enemy is. So it gives you a bit of an advantage for a minute until that runs out. And man, when Genesis described this the way he did, he's very correct. I mean, Hunt even has a shirt that they sell that says "Hunt giveth and Hunt taketh away" or something like that. Because this game is some of the, sometimes you'll be in a compound. There's usually there's no more than 12 people on a map, whether you're playing as a solo, duo, or a trio. And you can play, lower than trio and work up to that. You can play as a solo in duos or trios and just be a solo team against 2 or 3 other players on each team. And so when you're able to go in and you steal the bounty from somebody and then you fend off 2 other teams and you extract successfully, and there's nothing in the world greater than that. But there's also nothing worse than being the one who goes in, gets the bounty, and then 3 other teams surround your compound. There's fighting happening everywhere. It's insane. It's unique in a lot of ways. And because I don't know that there are a lot of other games like this. Now, there are other PvP games that work similar to this. There are, of course, many other extraction shooters. One of the things that I think makes Hunt so interesting is that you can constantly be upgrading your weapons, unlocking new weapons as you progress in the and then in levels. You unlock new things and the ability to get new things, and then you also, in order, let's say I have gun A. In order to get gun A version 2, I have to go in and get 1,000 XP with that gun and be able to unlock it. Of course, there's other ways to do it as well, and then every time you die, if your character dies, that character's gone. That character's dead. So in order to get a new character, you have to spend the in-game currency that you acquire through getting bounties out and everything like that. You have to spend in-game currency in order to buy one, and then every piece of your equipment you have to buy as well. So this is really not a balanced game in any sense of the word, because if you have a lot of money, if you're really good at the game, you're going to be able to afford some of the better weapons. Not to say you can't do lots of good stuff with the free weapons that you get in game. And again, this is in-game currency. But not to say that you can't do well with a free hunter, free weapons, whatever. But the better you are, the more money you have in game, the better you're going to do. And so, and some people would say they don't like that it's not balanced in that way, but I do like that. Even as someone who is constantly running out of money, just because it gives you the incentive to want to do better. And there's something on the line there. And in between each round, if you successfully extract, you get more points to unlock more abilities for your hunter. And of course, if you lose that hunter, you lose all those abilities as well. So there's so much I want to talk about with the game that I don't really know where to go from it. Brad, I know you've had some experience, so if you have any questions, lay them on me. I'm good at looking from questions sometimes. Yeah.
If you die, so you lose your hunter and everything, is there any form of progression that you keep? Maybe not your hunter, but like something else, like a perk or something?
So you have what's called your bloodline, which essentially is just like levels 1 through 100. And no matter what, you still acquire XP, although you acquire less if your hunter dies. So, I want to unlock the throwing spear. Well, the throwing spear, you don't unlock that until like level 35. And then once you unlock that, it's unlocked for you to choose for any character because it's your bloodline. It's not a specific character. The character itself goes away and all the perks that you had with it go away. You can easily acquire those again by, selecting a new hunter, using the perk points that you get for that, and then successfully extracting and getting more in the future. But yeah, it's not quite permadeath. It's permadeath as far as the character goes. Yeah, I guess it is permadeath then. It's permadeath as far as the character, but you still keep your base traits and your base, unlocks and everything like that. You can prestige at a certain point, which you get some perks for doing that. It's really just a vanity thing, and on board, I want to see the number go up kind of thing. But that does for people who are like, okay, things are getting easy. I'm used to my same old loadout. It resets your money. It resets all of your progression, everything like that. It gives you like a new skin that you can use.
Okay.
But that's really just for people who want to, continue to see that number go up and move.
So like, let's say you're playing duos or something like that. How many people are on the map, and how big is the map?
It's hard for me to quantify actually how big the map is. The most people that can be on a map, I think, is 12.
Okay.
And again, that could be as few, if you're playing duos, that could be as few as 6 teams, or as many as, if everybody else was a solo and you were a duo, however many that is, 10, I guess. Yeah, 10 teams. Now, of course, you're at a disadvantage if you're a solo against bigger teams, but the map it's hard for me to quantify it in terms of other games or other maps, but pretty much every map has 8 or 10 compounds, I'd say, and they're spread by a large distance. And that's part of the appeal too, is that, you have to go to each different compound to find these clues. And once you get 3 clues, you know where the boss is. Sometimes you spawn in on top of the boss and you have advantage in that way, and that you're able to get right at eliminating the boss and getting the bounty. But of course, then people are going to know where you are because you have to spend time banishing the boss before you can actually pick up the bounty.
Okay.
So yeah. The one thing I didn't mention, sorry, is when they came out with the 1896, when they upgraded the engine, they made it entirely so it was just a new map that they had rebuilt, or that they had built from the ground up. Very different type of map. Pretty much, everything else in this game was kind of set in the bayou and a lot of water.
That's what I remember.
This one was very much like a mountain / desert type map. Still a little bit of water, some rivers, but so it made it a whole new thing, and then kind of a new mini boss. I don't remember his real name because everybody calls him Flame Daddy or Flameo or something like that, but he's just this big fire guy that you have to kill. He also carries a bounty, and they have reintroduced one of the old maps now, which they've done a lot of upgrades to. Some people like them, some people don't. They've done a lot of upgrades to, and of course put it in a new engine, and then they're going to continue to do that in the future as well. Release the old maps upgraded.
Yeah. I'm curious about these kind of games, Ben. I've played just a little bit of this game when it first came out, so it's been a while, but extraction shooter, not like a super it's popular, but not like, Battle Royale or anything like that right now. What's something you think this game needs that it doesn't have?
I don't know, because I think the appeal of Hunt is it's exactly what it is. And that's enough
Mhm.
for the people who are playing it. To bring in other people, like I don't know. You have skins, you have progression, you have, PvE, you have PvP. I think there are obviously people who don't want to do any PvE who are only going to come in and try to do PvP, and then vice versa as well. It's really hard to only be a PvEer in this game
Mhm.
because you're literally marked on the map for everyone to see. So I don't know. I mean, there is another mode called Soul Survivor in which everyone is a solo, and the point is to activate the wellspring and then drain the wellspring by being the person in it the longest. So that's a solo mode, and then they're introducing a new mode called Bounty Clash soon that will start out with the boss already being dead and identified on the map, and everyone just has to go and try to banish it. And it's kind of more of it's a 15-minute matches, super quick. I think that might be something that the game needs, which they're already doing, I think, starting this week.
Mm.
Is that sometimes, these matches have a time limit of 45 minutes, and sometimes you need every bit of that 45 minutes if a real showdown goes down.
Yeah.
But as far as what it needs, I mean, I've probably only got, I say only, I know this is a lot to some people, 60 hours in this game, most of it within the last 6 weeks. But so for me, it's hard to know. Like, I'm still very much enjoying what this game has to offer now. I'm sure there are some people who would say very different things than that. But for me, yeah, I'm still just getting used to the modes that are here. It's
Cool.
hard for me to really speculate on what it needs yet.
How's the monetization? Because you said there's like skins. I assume you
Mhm.
buy and everything like that. Does it seem fair? Can you earn in-game currency to buy stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's the game is, there's a base price. I think it's $40 right
Mhm.
now, 20 or 40, depending on if it's on sale or not. It usually goes on sale pretty frequently. So the game is there, and you don't have to ever buy anything else again if you don't want to. When they do events or something like that, there are seasons, and with those seasons, or I don't even know if they call them seasons, but events. And with those, of course, there's a battle pass that you can purchase. I think it's $10 if you pay
Mhm.
for it just straight up. With that battle pass, whether you are on the free version or not, you get some of the in-game. They're called blood bonds. You get some in-game currency, and you can earn that in game as well. You can find them, on walls. You can find little posters that you pick up and things like that. So I will say that I don't remember how I got it, but I had money like in-game, currency that's or should I say premium currency in game when I started this again back up. So I went ahead and bought the battle pass. I didn't have to pay anything, and just working through that battle pass and then playing a little bit after that, I've already got it way more than enough money to buy the next battle pass when it releases. Most of the skins are, you get a lot of skins for free just by progression, just by retiring hunters or whatever. There are also two other ways. Of course, you can buy them straight up. They have the ability to do that in game, on Steam, or on Crytek's website directly. Most of the time, it's a skin, comes with a couple gun skins, maybe some skins for your utilities and weapons and things like that. And then there's also, this is kind of a thing that you don't see a lot of games do. When Hunt does Twitch drops, they actually not only give, because remember, you have to buy everything before you go in with your new hunter. They not only give you, like, you unlocked this gun and this antidote shot and this whatever, like you get a lot of stuff that's actually useful in the game, but they also unlock skins pretty frequently
Oh,
for the Twitch drops, which, when you think about the fact that some of these skins are $10 or $15 or more, that's a pretty cool thing to get just for watching the game.
cool. Yeah, that
For
is
somebody
cool.
who likes Twitch streams. But yeah, I don't think it's egregious. It never really bugs you to buy it. But it's there. And I guess everybody I see has a premium skin on, so it must be doing well. It must
Yeah.
be doing well. Yeah.
Maddie, any interest in this game or extraction shooters in general, I guess?
Yeah, the whole time Ben was talking, I was watching gameplay on Jack Frags, and just
Oh, yeah.
getting a feel of it, just because I feel like anytime I see it, it's like the art style, or I should say art direction, that really calls me in, because it's very much like a cool kind of blue color and feels almost very old. And then this
Mhm.
update, it was 1896. Yeah, like it interested me. I currently have my sinkhole, I call it, in MOBAs right now. League of Legends is something I play a lot of, and Smite too. So I try to avoid multiplayer right now, just because I've been away from the MOBA game for so long that now that I'm back, I know how many hours of like single player games I'm going to lose. So it does look good. It's always caught my eye, something I want to try eventually, but it's not super high on the priority list for me at least, but it looks very good.
Cool. Yeah. I would like to play more of it someday as well, but there's just too much damn games right now.
Yeah.
One day I'll get back to it. Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. Time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we just talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry. Something that needs sorting. Game, company, human being in a company. If you want to get real personal. Let's see. Let's continue with you, Ben.
Okay.
What needs sorting?
I don't know if this is something somebody's talked about in a previous episode, but sorted out Nintendo. And this is specific. There's so many. I got a video cooking right now about Nintendo needing to sort it out. But
Ooh.
I'm talking about Echoes of Wisdom.
Okay, yeah.
This game, from what I have played, which is probably 7 to 10 hours, somewhere in that range, is great. I love everything about it, except for the fact that I know I'm an elitist. I know I'm a purist. But even from a person who doesn't care standpoint, this game's frame rate is so terrible that it makes it hard for me to want to play it. So you're talking to somebody who has played all but 3 Zelda games that have ever been made. And actually, that might be 2 now. All but 2 Zelda games that have ever been made.
What have you not played?
I got to look at the list. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. But, okay, now I got to do it right this second.
Okay. Pause for time. Ben's got to find out what Zelda games he has not played yet. I derailed the whole conversation because I want to know.
You did. It's okay, though.
His train of thought is gone, but it's all right. But
I'm really bad at remembering actual names of things, so
okay,
that's okay. Here we go. All right, I'm getting it. I have not played Phantom Hourglass. I've not played Spirit Tracks, and I've not played Triforce Heroes.
Okay, so like the DS ones and
correct
3DS one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the 3DS ones, Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, you've played that.
I played that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so you're talking to somebody who's played almost every Zelda game. And right now I'm thinking about not finishing playing Echoes of Wisdom. Not forever, but right now it's just so rough for me. And again, there's so many things out to play. But this game is just what happened? It doesn't seem like some giant technical feat for this game. I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but like it's the same art style as one of my favorite Zelda games ever, the Link's Awakening remake. It seems to be, I'm sure it's set in that same engine, probably reusing a lot of the same assets for that matter. And the performance is just so bad. We already have the Switch, which I can deal with the performance of the Switch if it's consistent. But Echoes of Wisdom is absolutely abysmal, and I don't understand how they justified it, because they had to have known this was not up to standards. And I'm talking about, I've got an 11-year-old son who loves Nintendo. He loves video games in general, but he loves Nintendo. And I literally let him watch me play it for a little bit. And he's like, "What's wrong with it?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, and he said, like, it just seems like everything's like too slow and then too fast. And I was like, if my son, who has never heard the phrase 60 FPS before, understands that this game is like this, then there is an actual problem, in my opinion. So sort it out. Nintendo / Echoes of Wisdom.
Grezzo, particularly the developer.
Mm-hmm.
But Nintendo as well. So Link's Awakening
release. That's what I'm saying.
Of course.
Like,
I mean, Link's Awakening to me didn't have great frame rate already. It was inconsistent as well. But Echoes of Wisdom seems
rose tinted glasses. I don't know.
Echoes of Wisdom is like worse. Inside like dungeons or like enclosed areas, it's fine. Pretty much for the most time, it's 60 frames. It seems like. But you're right. Once you get out into the world, it's just really annoying because it fluctuates all over the place. It's just like a constant wave of frame rate. So it's very frustrating. I don't know why they don't let you cap these games at 30 FPS or anything like that. It's so like boggles my mind, but I guess that's Nintendo. They're so great at so many things, but sometimes they just are so poor about other things. And it's just let them cap the frame rate. Please.
They don't let you cap the frame rate or many other things because, and here's the real answer, it doesn't matter because they're still going to sell a butt ton of games and you're still going to buy them. Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
Because it's Nintendo.
We're all slaves to Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's very annoying. I don't know, dude. Fucking Nintendo. It's just like, just let us cap the frame rate, dude. It's so easy. It just be consistent. That's all we need. Just a consistent frame rate. That's it.
I'm sure I'm going to finish it, but there really is the.
You
should I just wait for Switch 2? Should I just wait
we
for
don't
Switch
even
2?
know if it's gonna do anything. We
It
don't
doesn't.
know.
It almost doesn't matter, man.
Okay.
It almost doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I do think the game's great. Like I'm loving the gameplay of it. But it's just there are some times when I'm like, again, call me a snob, whatever. But there are some times where I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm getting dizzy from playing it.
Yeah, I get it, dude. I mean, I played the whole game and I like the game a lot, but it's something you notice the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there.
Yeah.
All
right, good sorted out. Matty, what about you, dude? What needs sorting?
Sorted out Nintendo again. Alarmo, what the fuck is this thing, man? $100 for an alarm clock. And I watched Spawnway's video because he does cool teardowns and I love him. He's great. They don't include a fucking power brick with this thing, dude. They give you the cable. So yeah, you have to, for $100 alarm clock, there is no power plug. It's just the cable. They're like, it includes the USB, figure the rest out. I'm like, look, dude, I don't know where we start. I think Apple really started this, if I remember correctly, where this is like, we're not going to give you that plug. I don't get it where you can charge me this much and not allow me to turn the thing on. like imagine, like this is clearly, the timing and everything is a good Christmas gift. I don't know who gets excited about an alarm clock, but it's a fun, gimmicky one. Look, I say that, but at the same time, I bought a white noise machine for, by the way, like the same price, and it has all these sound packages, and you can like change it from a train to the ocean depending on what phase of the night. It's like very customizable. This thing is I watched the trailer and everything, is a pile of garbage. It's literally just like the cheapest looking plastic, and all it does is two things. Number one, obviously it's an alarm clock. There's like a visitor arrives, right? So once you wake up, it says like someone or something from the scene you picked will appear, because you pick your Nintendo scene. And if you move your body or wave your hand, it'll make the clock quieter, because that's the difference of this alarm clock. It's like it'll detect if you get out of bed. If you get out of bed, it'll go quiet. But if you stay in bed and don't move, it gets louder. And if you don't move at all, Bowser shows up. I'm just like, dude. Like Nintendo and all big corporations need to get their head out of their ass. This is egregious. This is $50. Even then, I'd be like, that's a little steep, but $100 for something that doesn't even include the power plug, and it's just an alarm clock. Like I don't know. Even for your kid, I'm just like, you could do so much better, so much cheaper. So yeah, sort it out, Nintendo.
That's a great one.
I saw this. I don't know if it was a meme or if it's real, but is there some kind of warning that this clock doesn't work well if you share a bed with someone else? Is that a real thing?
That probably, because it like detects your movements. So like if you could set it to like if you roll around, it'll play like the coin sounds from Mario. So maybe if you have two people, it just gets chaotic. I don't know.
The gamer.
So Nintendo made a clock for children and lonely people.
Nintendo's Alarmo's motion sensor feature only works with one person in a bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you could turn that off, but
yeah,
you're missing out half of it
for literally single people or like children with their own bedroom.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So here's the problem.
Incredible.
I considered buying this, Matty, because I'm an idiot, but I did not. I didn't pull the trigger because they put Zelda in it. I'm like, ooh, Zelda.
I get it.
And I almost did it. But then I was like, yeah, it is $100. Because I was like, well, I'm hosting Punching Up right now. Maybe it'll be good to get it.
Yeah, I get it.
But then my senses came to me. I was like, no. I don't need to do it as much as I wanted to.
My $1 million idea is, and someone can go take this and run with it. It was because I have this white noise machine and they have these themes. And I'm like, imagine just being a company that just works with all these big brands and produces like white noise sleep sounds for like Star Wars or like, just like Pixar movies or something like that. Because that I can't really sleep without my white noise machine. It's so vital to me. And it would be so cool. Like there was one stretch earlier, or I think it was last year. Laylee got really sick though. And obviously I didn't want to get sick. So I had to sleep in the guest room, and so I let her have the white noise machine. So I would put on my phone like Star Wars white noise. And I'm like, this is cool as fuck, man. Like I would love it if just there was like a white noise sound pack that I could like buy and install into like certain hardware. So I thought of it, I wrote it down, but I'll give it up to the audience. Someone can have that idea. I don't think I got the time to pursue it. But
Todd Howard, you can do an Elder Scrolls one.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Secunda, like waking up to Secunda. Are you fucking kidding me? Like that's just a multi-million-dollar idea into itself. Like, I don't know. I hope someone does it because the partnership possibilities are endless.
The problem with Nintendo white noise is just like every now and then you in the middle of the white noise set in the Mario world, you hear woohoo!
Yeah.
And it just
When
that's
you get to an underwater
can't do
level,
that.
you just hear Mario drowning.
Yeah. Oh no, Mamma Mia! Yeah, that'd be awesome. Actually, now. Shit.
Having
They should
vivid
have put,
dreams, man.
yeah, they should have put white noise in that. You're right, Maddie. Damn, dude.
All right.
Alarmo, hilarious.
Just yeah.
That would have raised the price, though.
But this is
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
They are a company that's so deeply fascinating. Like, what was it, the Labo, where they literally sold you cardboard? It's just, I don't know, man. It's so baffling to watch them just do these things. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's Nintendo." I'm like, no, this is like a sorted out moment. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like a reasonably like $40 even, I'm like, all right, go get your gimmicky, unique alarm clock. But I don't know, man. Just that price tag for no power plug and just no real feature set. The motion sensor technology cannot be that expensive. You cannot convince me of that. Especially if it's for one person. It's not even that advanced. Come on now.
I can't wait for Sony to do theirs, and you can have Horizon wake you up or something like that. Aloy's voice waking you up.
Remaster and your TV show and your co-op game and your sequel and your third entry in the series. You can't get enough Horizon.
Yeah.
I'll give you the alarm clock now.
Matt, here's what's going to happen, though. So they're going to be adding other games into the Alarmo. They're going to be patching them in.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was
going to be updates. No, there's going to be updates. So what's going to happen is, Matty, they're going to do some Zelda game that I want in there. They're going to put like Ocarina of Time in there or Wind Waker or something like that. And I'm like, well, shit.
Is Pokemon
it's going to be
part
dumb
of this?
impulse buy. No, of course not. Pokemon is like its own.
Yeah.
They'll sell you their own Pokemon specific thing for that.
Yeah. No,
for
100%.
probably twice the price.
If they did a special edition Alarmo Pokemon, I feel like that would pull more people in than Nintendo doing it on their own. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Pokemon
of course.
Are cute. Any way you can bring those to life a little bit more is always good. So I can see that.
Don't you think that would destroy the game for you, though? Because, like, I know sometimes, I'll have like a bunch of, alarms or whatever set because I'm not a morning person, and my alarm will go off and it's whatever. It's my alarm sound. So of course it's supposed to be unpleasant. But then I'll be out in public and somebody will have that set as like their ringtone, and it just gives me PTSD to waking up. And I'm like, do I really want to have that feeling every time I go back and play Ocarina that I'm waking up in the morning? I don't know about that.
That's fair. That's a good point.
I think they have the Guardians from Breath of the Wild, though, that like target you with like the laser, like boop, 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 boop. I'm like, oh, that's perfect because that already stresses me out.
That is cool. Yeah.
Not $100 cool, but it's cool.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's keep with tradition. Mine's also going to be for Nintendo. Sort it out, guys.
God.
All right,
let's go.
They had a big them and Game Freak had a big old leak. We'll keep it on there. There is lots of info about Pokemon. They got owned. There is a huge dump going on right now. I have not investigated all, but there is a ton of info out there now about Pokemon stuff that they did not want out there. So they are probably so pissed right now. They are having a rough time, the Pokemon company, Nintendo. So you guys got owned. You got to sort those leaks out. You got to plug those leaks, man. But depending on who you are, that could be a keep it up as well. So we'll see.
That's true.
Let's see. This is from Gabriel SG, who wrote in. Sorted out, Brad. A deal was made, and you are yet to fire up the GOAT Knights of the Old Republic. Well, Gabriel, the deal was that Matty finishes a Realm Reborn.
So I was going to say.
And Matty has not finished Realm Reborn, but I am extremely grateful because there is no time for Knights of the Old Republic anyways. Like, there's no time for Final Fantasy 14 right now.
Yeah.
We are just
totally
busy as hell. So,
I
nice
like
try.
What will end up happening is I plan to finish Realm Reborn by the end of the year. Maybe when we're on our holiday break, that'll be a good window for Brad to settle into Knights of the Old Republic, a cozy holiday experience with the greatest of all time. And we get to return in January, and we'll talk about it then. And that'll be pretty cool to start the year off. I could see it kind of going down like that.
That terrifies me because I was going to play Infinite Wealth around then. But
well, I mean, KOTOR's not that long in the scheme of things. Yeah,
I will prioritize KOTOR.
Oh, that's
because if Matty goes to Realm Reborn, I will do KOTOR because it is, and I like Star Wars, so
yeah.
And I heard it's the GOAT, and it's like one of the only Star Wars games I haven't played that's so revered. So
that's so interesting. What Star Wars games have you played? I don't think I ever asked you that.
Name them besides like a PC one, maybe an old PC one.
Right, Battlefront.
Yeah.
Okay. Republic Commando?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good.
Yes.
Jedi
Rental.
Knight Jedi Academy?
I've played the first one. Which one was that? Jedi Knight?
Yeah, that was Jedi. Well, it goes
So
back
Outcast.
really far.
I played multiplayer in Outcast, I think.
Okay,
but
yeah.
not
So that was like
campaign.
the first one on like consoles.
Mhm.
Okay, so Jedi Academy is really good. Really good lightsaber fights. Force Unleashed.
Yep.
Okay. Sequel.
Unfortunately.
Oh man, unfortunately, I kind of like
I
it.
hate the sequel. I hate Force Unleashed too.
Interesting. I gotta replay it because so many people are like, it sucks. I'm like, is it really that bad? Like, I don't remember hating it. I've played it a few times, but I couldn't tell you shit about it, unlike the first one. What other ones are there? We did KOTOR, we did Battlefront 1 and 2. Guess there really hasn't been many new Star Wars games.
Shadows of the
since.
Empire, Rogue Squadrons, all of those.
You hit those?
Played all
Yeah,
of them.
nice. Yeah, those
I
are
did
some I've
Squadrons,
missed.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so dude, wow, that's crazy. So
played a lot.
you've hit pretty much all of them.
Yeah, all the Super Star Wars games I hit.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that's interesting that you've hit all of those and just missed KOTOR. So you might be in
I didn't have an Xbox and I didn't have a PC until like 2000, the end of 2004, I think, is when I got like a PC that actually could play some games on.
Oh wow.
So I missed like all that kind of stuff, most of it. But I'll plug the hole someday. I got to do it. I know people love that game, so I got to play it. All right, this is from MK. Howdy, lads. I want to say sort it out to soccer sim developer Sports Interactive and Sega. They just announced that the latest entry in the long-running annual franchise is moving from its November release date to March. This delay has been caused by complications of moving from their proprietary engine to Unity engine. 2 Matty appearances in a week. Keep it up. Peace and love, MK. That's interesting. Moving engines. Maybe I don't know anything about these games. Maybe that's a good thing in the long run. I'm not sure if these games run well or whatever the reviews are. I have no idea, but if it bumps up the quality of the game, I think it's a good idea. But maybe it won't do anything. Maybe it'll just be worse. Who the hell knows? But you just have to wait a little longer, unfortunately. But I have no idea. I just don't know enough about it. Do you guys know anything about this franchise?
No, not at all.
I just when I hear engine swap mid development, I just think of Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's all I think of.
Yeah. Engine swaps now I think of Halo, just because it's so fresh.
Yeah, true. That's a better one.
We'll see. All right, this is from Lauren E. Hello, gentlemen. My sorted out is from Meta. The Quest store will not display sales to people who have bought too many things on sale in the store. Even if Meta or the game studios are advertising the game is on sale on social media, it still won't show up. I've even seen it advertised as on sale in games descriptions, but it still won't show the sale price for many people, which I am not even sure is legal. There are countless Reddit threads about this, with people going as far as to make new accounts, buy the game, and gift it to their main accounts to get around this. It has made me switch to buying all my VR games on Steam unless they are exclusives. But I feel bad for those without a VR-capable PC. Sorted out Meta. Dude, this is wild.
That is wild, yeah.
They just don't show you sales if you've bought a lot of games on sale. That is insane. Is that legal? Like, I don't know understanding. That's a whole law question, I guess.
Yeah.
That seems
I know for a while
fucked.
There was an issue where they were sending out 10% off coupons or something like that, but only if you would buy X amount of things. There was a suit filed against that, and they changed that practice. This has been when they were still Oculus, years and years ago, but that's crazy. It doesn't surprise me one bit though.
Damn, that's insane, man.
Yeah.
I don't have a Quest, so I don't deal with any of that, but that sucks so bad. I would be so mad if that was the case on any of the big 3 or like Steam. Can you imagine that, dude? Like a Steam sale? It's the middle of the Steam sale. You buy like 3 games and it's just like, nah, nothing's on sale anymore. You got enough. Just like, what?
You got enough.
That's something Nintendo would do, honestly.
Hey, don't give them ideas, dude. Don't give them ideas. I can't. They got to stop already. They have too much power.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's time for the exact opposite of sorted out. Keep it up. Stuff we're pleased with in the game industry. What are we happy about, boys? Ben, let's start with you. What are you happy about?
So this is a game. I'm happy about this game called Sand, and I threw this in here because I wasn't really it wasn't a game I thought I should talk about, but this is once again another PvP VE shooter, or not really a shooter, but like you basically you build these gigantic mechs. I think they call them tramplers. And you're in this vast open world, and there are other people with tramplers, and there's of course PvE and everything. I think literally it was Friday night, which is when we checked it out. Me and a couple friends checked it out. It's very rough, but they had just like put it out, not even beta or alpha. This is just a play test, like a free demo. And it's very, very rough, but I think it's got some good potential for it. It's made by a company called Hologryph and a company called Tower House. I think Tower House has only worked on this. Hologryph has been worked on some other like tiny build stuff, who's publishing the game. But it looks like it has a lot of potential. I think it could be really cool. It's very rough right now, but I'm just gonna say keep it up, because what they have already is a good product, and I hope they turn it into something cool. It has the potential to be terrible as well. I'm just gonna be honest about that. But it seems like it's a cool concept, something that, we've seen a lot of stuff like this in the past, but this is just a different, unique kind of perspective for sure.
Interesting.
It's already better than Skull and Bones.
Oh, shots at Hoglaw, dude. Damn. Man, that game is insane. When I just think about that game, what the hell that game is and how much it reportedly costs.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All that R&D for Black Flag remake, man. That's all
I know. Yeah. All right, Matty, what about you, dude?
Pardon me, I'm chewing. I was finishing.
That's all right.
I'm going to say keep it up to gaming books. So, I've been getting my read on a lot lately. I've been trying to make it a part of my nightly routine just because, like, I realized I'm going from, like, playing these games, and I fall asleep pretty quickly. I'm lucky, I guess. But I was waking up not feeling super well rested. I'm like, it's probably because my brain's going like a million miles a minute while I'm working. Then I'm playing games, and I'm just going straight to bed. So I'm trying to create like a little bit of a buffer to just let me, settle down, right? And I've kind of split it up where I have audiobook and physical book. So the audiobook I've been listening to is like the Red Rising trilogy, which I am, Ben, I think we talked about it very briefly. I'm on Golden Sun right now. This book's fucking awesome, by the way. Absolutely love it. But what I wanted to read physically is like, I realized I was like, I don't read any books from like people who have made games or leaders in our industry. So Amazon was having like a really good sale, and they had like Reggie Fils-Aimé's book, Disrupting the Game. They had, what else was there? Kojima's book, The Creative Gene, Ask Iwata, Power Up. So I just bought them all. It was on like a really good deal. And I've been reading Hideo's book, and I will be honest, not that crazy about it. Like, it's like, if you want to get into like stroking your ego, but also not making a lot of sense at the same time, kind of what this book is. But overall, I like that they exist. I'm going to read through all of them, probably be done with them by the end of the year. And so I just like that they exist in general. So keep it up, gaming books. I want to continue to learn more about our genre as things go on here. Pardon me, I gotta swallow my food. I'm dying out here.
No, that's totally fine. Dude, you gotta eat. You gotta eat.
Yeah, sorry. It's usually not my MO to eat on a podcast. You caught me mid-chew, but now the food's swallowed. Yeah, when it comes to Hideo's book, like I'm 120 pages in. It's like a 250-page book. A lot of it is like reposts from his old blog. It is interesting when he cuts deep, like to talk about books that got him through like his dad's passing, which I thought was great. Like not the great that it happened, but we all have that moment where we go through something and like an experience pulls you out of it. Or like when he starts to bring things back to like, here's what I do with Metal Gear, or here's what I want to do with Kojima Productions. Like that's what was like what really made this book click. But I'm like halfway through and I'm just not getting a lot of that. And I don't know. It had like good reviews. Like Amazon's reviews are almost at a 5 out of 5. Goodreads was a little more reasonable. It was at like 3.98 out of 5, which is still pretty high. I'm like, okay, like this is a good book, but halfway in, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting to know this guy other than he like over analyzes things to the point where I'm like, not sure if he's actually extracting the correct, which I know art's up to the interpreter, right? But like, he makes the argument, I think, that like you sometimes can extract the wrong things out of stuff, if you will. Yeah. But it's interesting getting to know him because I've played only a few of his games. But But yeah, I'm not in love with the book, but I love that these things exist, and I'm going to keep reading them and hopefully talk more about them. Ask Iwata is the one I'm most interested in, because it seems
Yeah,
like
I want to read that one too.
yeah, it seems like pretty like it seems like a almost wisdom driven book. Like, I think the back of the book kind of is what sold me on it, because it said something like, by title, like, I am CEO, but at my heart I'm a game developer, and more importantly, like, I focus on like what makes great games, something along those lines that really spoke to me, where I was like, oh, like, this guy is so spoken of highly, and this is just a perfect quote to encapsulate what he meant to this business. And it seems like it's a book about like people who would go to him for advice, and just like he seemed to be almost a sage when it came to game development. So I definitely want to get to learn more about him and kind of Nintendo's empire, if you will. Like, Reggie Fils-Aimé, obviously not at Nintendo of America anymore, but like get to learn how he rose to where he was. So 'cause that's what I was thinking of with these books is, I recognize like, oh, I know a lot about video games and I'm learning a lot about game development, but do I really know the history of games? I'm like, I kind of don't. Like, if you were to come up to me and be like, tell me about Iwata, like, one of the most recognizable members in our games industry for what he did for Nintendo, I'd be like, I don't know. Tell me about Reggie Fils-Aimé. I don't know. Hideo? No, I could tell you about Todd Howard, maybe. That's really it. I realize I feel like I need to broaden my knowledge base of what what this industry was built upon, if I want to like be a part of like working in it and doing my part to, I guess, move things along where I can. I feel like I should know more about our history, because I grew up like right in the middle of it starting to boom, so I didn't get to know any of these faces until my 20s. So that's kind of what this excursion of books has kind of led me down this rabbit hole. So keep it up, books. And if anyone's got suggestions for like great gaming books, let me know. I remember there was one I read. It was by, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he wrote, among many things, the story for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, which is funny because that's what pulled me in. I'm not a fan of that game's story at all. But I wanted to read it because it was a book about writing video games and like tips and tricks and things you should know. And I read this before I even started working on my own game. It was just curiosity of like, what's this guy who wrote Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 got to say about writing a story? Like, let's see. It's a great book, though. I wish I remember the gentleman's name, because it's just about structure and tactics and ways of thinking. Like, oh, you should always like have, even if you don't utilize it when you write your main story, you should write a story for your villain characters so that there's continuity, so you can kind of slip them into the main story when you want. Like, just little things like that I typically wouldn't have thought of. That book brought to light. So yeah, if anyone's got suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because I'm just in my like my learner's phase right now. I want to continue to just grow my knowledge of the industry on like a foundational level, is what I would say.
Do you know? Are you familiar with Blake Harris?
No.
Really good guy. I've gotten the chance to speak with him a few times, but he wrote Console Wars, and also The History of the Future. The History of the Future is probably a little outdated at this point, even though it's only a few years old. It's about Oculus and Facebook and a lot of that stuff. And then Console Wars is about Sega and Nintendo and that whole thing. Not quite in the learning about the area of development and everything, but it definitely shines a lot of, yeah. And they made a show of that. Like, it was loosely based on the book, I think. And kind of, like, I think Seth Rogen was involved with that one. But those are two really good ones as well. This isn't the same kind of book, but I wanted a chance. A listener sent me this. Somebody who checks out my Twitch streams occasionally. It's called Soul Arts. If you could see this.
Oh, yeah, that's Vadi.
Yeah, it's Vadi's book from Tune and Fairweather. Amazing. It's most like it's a lot of it's an art book, but there's a lot of lore and everything in here too, as far as mostly just from games. Tune and Fairweather has a couple other books as well. You Died and Blood Echoes, I think, is another one they have. So anyway, check them out. Neither one of them are about like, they're not like deep books that you want to sit and read chapters of or anything like that. They're more of exploring if you like the medium. But I just wanted to shout it out because I hadn't had an opportunity to on any other shows or anything lately. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, apparently Jason Schreier's book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is pretty solid. That's one.
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is great. It's great. Yeah.
I've been eyeing his new book. It just came out, called Play Nice. It's about the rise and fall and the future of Blizzard Entertainment from him.
Oh yeah, that's all you, bro.
Yeah, I'm very curious about all that kind of stuff because he's got all that info. So I'll keep an eye out on that. But really cool. Yeah, I'm happy to hear you reading about all these great minds in gaming.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, Matty. You said you've only played a couple Kojima games. What have you played?
I have played Metal Gear Solid 2, 3. I never finished 4, but played some of that. And then I played I played like 30 or 40 hours of Phantom Pain. I got like in that loop. I think Phantom Pain's a great game. But then I just kind of like the trans got snapped one day. I was like, I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And I just stopped playing it. But it's a great game in the terms of gameplay and stealth kind of focus. But those are the main ones of his I have played. 2 being my absolute favorite. I adore that game. So good on a story front. I really respect, people probably know this about me, but I respect like bold story choices. Like I'll use Danganronpa V3's ending as an example. I won't spoil it, but I just think that was like, damn, dude, you got balls. And Kojima kind of having something with Metal Gear and being like, here's your new protagonist. Like, I just think that's very gutsy. It's a little more acceptable nowadays. Like people aren't immediately reactive to that, but at the time he did it, back then I think apparently it was controversial to
I was there on the ground floor, Matty, and it sure was. I was like, who's this? Who's writing? I was like, I want to be Snake. What is this?
And it's so interesting to hear that, because it's what made me fall in love and go, oh, okay, I get why people dig this guy. All it took was one game, really, but otherwise I haven't played any of his other works, really. Yeah,
once I got through Metal Gear 2, I was like, oh, okay, right, it's cool. But wait, you haven't played Metal Gear Solid then? The first one?
No, I have not actually. No.
Oh, wow, you haven't played Metal Gear Solid and you've played 2, 3, and some before, and 5? Wow,
well, because what I learned with 5 I was really excited about. And 5's where everyone like started to lose their minds about the timeline. They're like, this is technically like the middle of the story. I'm like, it's fucking 5 though, dude. And like 4 is kind of the finale, I think, if I remember correctly. And
yes, 4 is.
I was under the interpretation that you could kind of go at this series in whatever direction you really wanted to. So I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't know if I really needed 1 as like the foundational level understanding for like the entire series.
I think it helps a lot, especially in 4.
Yeah, I never finished 4. So to be fair, I feel like 2 and 3 were self-contained enough, though.
Okay. So like that's funny because like you probably didn't mind writing that much because you didn't have that attachment to Snake already, probably.
Yeah.
Like Solid Snake, the coolest fucking character ever.
Yeah,
at the time.
Because it's actually interesting. It's funny we bring this up because for me, I really got into Metal Gear with Rising. I hate to say it, but like
Rising's fun.
Is cool. I think I played 4 beforehand because that's where I saw Ride, and then I was like, this guy's awesome. And then they built a whole game about him, and I went, I'm gonna go play that, and I played that, and then went to the HD collection on Vita, which had 2, 3. That's the other thing. I thought the way the HD collection was handled, where it had just 2 and 3 on Vita, I was like, oh, they don't really need the first one. Sure. So I started with 2 and then went into 3. I don't know. I played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 1 on the new Volume 1 collection. It's kind of tough to get into nowadays, I will be honest.
It's a little rough in some ways, yeah. I would say. But I think the story is really excellent still. It's my favorite story in Metal Gear so far still.
Interesting.
But I think I like the simplicity of it. It's not as crazy as some of the other ones get later on. Like 4 is insane, but I love 4 because they have a lot to wrap up. But if you ever get the time to play it, it's rough in some areas, Matty, but it's a cool and important game.
I want to, it's
I know there's a million things to play.
Well, it's more like I have a habit of just sometimes tackling these series out of order because I sometimes try to get too perfect with it. So like I jumped into Silent Hill with 2 and then went to 3 and people were like, oh, hold up, you can't do 3 without 1. And I'm like, oh, I think 3 actually stands on its own and I'll play 1 separately at some other time. But I know if I just get in my own head, I just won't play these games. So that's same thing with Metal Gear. Like I'm just going to play 2. Like I'm just like, otherwise I'll never jump in if I got to be perfect with it. Because then if you don't end up liking 1, then it just cascades into like 2 hurts a little bit more, 3 hurts a little bit more. You get tired of it. So that's how I've tried to approach it. But
I'd rather you play
1 and just at least like catching up and seeing if would it enhance my love of like 2 and 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And it's not that long of a game.
No, certainly not. Yeah, length never put me off with that game because I know it's early PS1 game. And
you're just gonna get to know like Solid Snake more. Like you don't even really know Liquid that much, so that will enhance everything and all that kind of stuff. And like Foxhound Unit and all that stuff. Yeah, it's all good. It's
the origins of everything you just hear about throughout multiple games. Pretty much.
Yeah. Gotta play it someday. You can get to it whenever. It's not long, but I just replayed it this year, and it's still fun. But it is rough in some areas.
Yeah, we'll make another bet. We'll organize things.
Yeah, we'll do a smaller bet this time, shorter game.
Yeah, the short games bet.
Yeah. All right. This is from Philippe or Philip, however you want to say it. Hello, Summoners. I want to say keep it up to JRP. Oh, wait, sorry. Rewind again. Bloop, bloop. I didn't do my keep it up real quick. Just make it brief. Oh. Alice, well done. Continuing to thrive. You are growing so much more. And I'm very happy to see it. Seeing those million sales in like 24 hours or something like that. Delightful. Very stoked. Love to see you grow as a brand. It's great. We're all winning right there. I have a feeling Falcom will be the next one, Matty, to get a nice boost. Probably from the Trails remake. I think that'll bring a lot of people in like me.
They got to go multi-plat as well, I think.
Yeah.
That would
probably
be really good.
At least you got to be on PC day one. At least. Yeah. I think PC is huge. I mean, Xbox, of course, helps. No doubt about that. But I think PC you'll get more players probably.
Yeah, 100%.
No shade to Xbox people. All right, this is from Philippe. Say hello, Summers. I want to say keep it up to JRPGs because, well, let me start with a list. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Unicorn Overlord, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, Metaphor ReFantazio, Dragon Quest 3 2D HD, Fantasian Neo Dimension. And these are just some of the excellent JRPGs we got this year. JRPGs are my favorite genre, and getting all these in a single year is almost unbelievable. So keep it up to JRPGs, keep it up to JRPG developers, keep it up to JRPG fans, keep it up everyone who in any way contributes to these excellent times. We are eating good, gentlemen. Yes, we are eating good. If you're a fan of the genre, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful year or a nightmare for Lockmort.
But he's telling me that Metaphor might be his game of the year. So
Lockmort, Pish Posh. Oh, he's all talk with that kind of stuff.
I don't know. He texted me out of nowhere. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, we'll see if that keeps up, dude. I mean, good to hear. Yeah, dude, it's so funny seeing how good JRPGs are now, because I remember like 2010.
The PS3 area and 360 area was the roughest.
It was really rough then. I wonder if like you just contribute 13 as like for Final Fantasy is sort of like
Square was kind of a mess. In that whole period.
I loved
so they were like
as a series, but I get it. You know, I get why if that wasn't doing well, you look around, no one else was like what was like, because even great ones weren't like seeing any motion on the sales charts. Like Lost Odyssey is phenomenal, 2008, right? But you know, no one really talked about it at all. It's kind of a hidden gem.
It was a weird time for sure.
Like what would you say is the most popular JRPG from that stretch, from that generation? I can't really.
That's a great question.
It's probably Final Fantasy 13 in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, to some extent. I remember Persona 4 came out late on PS2, like 2008 here or something like that, I want to say. So, but that was not a HD game or whatever. All the HD games had problems. Honestly, Tales of Vesperia was one of my favorites, Matty.
Oh, yeah. That
was on 360.
Yeah.
That's why I got my 360 for that game. Yeah, I would say 13 is probably the most famous off the top of my head. There might be others like that, but I remember there was like Star Ocean 4, which
was a good one.
I hated that game.
Like for a lot of people, they liked it because it was kind of like
a lot of people did. I hated that game. I thought the combat was cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've never finished it, but I enjoyed what I played of it.
Good. I hated the cast so much in that game, and like the voice acting was so bad. I like just got fucking furious at it.
Yeah.
I remember Ni no Kuni was pretty well beloved. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was like a later one, but I don't know how much that sold. I'm not really sure. But that's a great question, Matty.
Nier was on the
Nier had like a cult following.
Yeah,
I would say. Like, I like Nier, but Nier 1 originally was pretty rough.
Yeah,
in many ways.
Oh yeah.
But that's a great, Matty. I would have to look at a list and just see what came out again to really think about that.
Like
but
it's interesting. There's no like juggernaut where like now it's probably the same tough question, but at least you have like you see here, this list is just from this year. You have like a lot to pick from. It's like what was the biggest one? You know?
Yeah,
crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's a great question. All right, this is from here for Schadenfreude. Hello, my fellow circle jerkers. Keep it up to phishing scams. Over the weekend, a Game Freak employee got phished, and a terabyte of info was leaked. We got tons of beta Pokemon designs, information about ZA and Generation 10, the Pokemon creation theology, and the designer of the Generations 5 gym leader, Skyla. Fucking love Latinas. What do you three think of the leaks of this nature? I didn't know Shadow the Hedgehog worked at Game Freak kind of day. What does that mean, Matty? I don't understand that reference.
I just saw my friend rip a joke about it in our group chat. I was like,
okay.
He's kidding. And then I see this and I'm like, oh, wow, wait, that's real.
I don't understand that Sega reference, Sonic reference. But yeah.
The Game Sonic Freak one. I thought you were talking about Skyla and Latinas. That's what I was like.
No. I don't understand that either, dude.
I don't understand the Shadow at Game Freak one either. No, that's over my head.
Okay. As a resident Sonic expert, I go to you.
Yeah. Must be part of the leak somehow.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, Game Freak got owned. And like I said, sorted out for me because they just dumb and got fished like that. But it is a keep it up for many people out there that love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting because I saw something that was a lot of people were like, oh, the retro scene's about to get a lot harder because even like the box designs for, old Game Boy and DS and advanced games got leaked. And not that you couldn't probably figure that out, on your own if you took a box and disassembled it and remade it, but just the fact that it's the design with the exact print specifications on it and everything. Like there are some things that kind of suck for the developers and surely there's some stuff that, they're not going to be able to announce. They're still going to make so much $1 billion on every game. But the fact that you could start seeing some more falsified stuff pop up in the retro market, that sucks for everybody, I think.
Yeah. Crazy times. Yep. All right, Matty.
Hello.
Let's talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. You're a huge Dragon Ball fan, I know.
Indeed.
So talk to me about this. What's the deal? I know people are loving this game. I know a lot of people love the older Dragon Ball fighting games, like the Tenkaichi ones, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Particularly.
Yep. This is basically like if you've played those as a kid, which I played these a lot as a kid, it's like picking up a new game in that series, which is what it is. It's the Budokai Tenkaichi series, but they retained like everything where if you played those and you're familiar with those, you're going to be pretty familiar with this. So it's really content dense. Like there's a big story mode that goes across all these different characters and they have these what if stories attached to them that I'll get into in a sec. But the idea is like you'll play as Goku's story and you'll go through all the major fights as Goku, and like Vegeta has his own story mode, Trunks, Gohan, like Goku Black has his own. So they go into like Dragon Ball Super stuff. Jiren has his own, Frieza has his own. So yeah, it's really cool to kind of see the story from their eyes. The cutscenes are a little underwhelming though. They just kind of are like slideshowy, not really exciting, frankly. And that is the drawback to me for this game. But when you see how much of the ground they cover, it's at least understandable. It doesn't make it okay, but it's at least like, oh, okay. You see how far they go across the Dragon Ball lore, and it makes sense. But the what if stories are really what stand out here. So they kind of take a little bit of a page from the Xenoverse playbook, and they're like, oh, what if we just decided, something different happens in this timeline? So you get to a choice. Like I'll do it a simple one. Raditz. Like Raditz usually gets killed by Piccolo when Goku holds him and they do the special beam cannon through the chest. Iconic shot, right? So there's another way you can go about it where you can tell Piccolo to stay behind and like, I'll handle it on my own. And if you win that fight, and it's tougher to win that fight, but if you win that fight, it'll send you on a whole new story path and new set of cutscenes. And it's really cool. Like it has that same Xenoverse effect of like, oh, this is interesting. And it's different. It's kind of, if anyone's played Raging Blast, they had what if scenarios as well. So this is for a lot of people, both like Budokai Tenkaichi 4, but also Raging Blast 3 kind of put into one. And that's why I think Dragon Ball fans are obsessed with it. Cause it's pulled from every kind of remaining thread of the series that have been long abandoned and kind of brought them into one here. And so, yeah, you have like pretty simple action combat. Everyone's kits are like a little bit different, but generally speaking, you can pick it up and understand how to combo really easy, which is what the attraction of Budokai Tenkaichi always was. It was not like Budokai where it was like 2D fighting, a little like it was still pretty easy, but it was a little more strategic. This is, just like you can rack up hits really quickly. You can play as like pretty much any character in Dragon Ball lore. Like there's over 140 characters, I think, in this game. And it goes from GT to OG Dragon Ball to Super to Z. It's got it all. It's really cool, dude. Like it is a dream come true for myself and many other Dragon Ball fans in that it's like, wow, this is just a series that, especially because Dragon Ball has had games pretty much annually forever, in one way, shape, or form. Some years it's like a really shitty. I forget, Dragon Ball Super Warriors or something like that. It's a crappy gotcha game that then got taken out of arcades and put onto Switch, and I put like 80 hours into it because I'm a fucking dumbass. And it's just not good. It's just, I'll just put it that way, it's just not good. So you'll get the off years like that, but then you'll get an on year, like you'll get a DBZ Kakarot or you'll get a DB Fighters, and you'll be like, this is what we're here for. This is like an on year Dragon Ball game where it's like, oh yeah, we got like a top notch one. And I was hoping it would be that way because they've been working on this for like 5 or 6 years now.
Wow.
But I was impressed by just how expansive the roster was, how surprisingly, when I say deep, I'm not trying to sell it to anyone like it's Tekken here, but there's just a level of depth that for how many characters on the roster, I just didn't expect. Like, oh, there are combos and these inputs aren't as simple if I want to master them, and countering takes skill, and revenge countering takes like paying attention, and there's very tight windows on these. Like, it's got a level of strategy to it, and like it's still like Budokai Tenkaichi, where if I whip out like Gogeta, I'm going, and you're Krillin, like I might have a pretty clear advantage. It's very easy to cheese these games. Like, it's still got that. So how I've kind of told people is like, it's everything you loved and hated about Budokai Tenkaichi just on modern platforms, and it looks a lot better. And it's got super content here, and it's really cool. So yeah, it's a great game. I've really been enjoying it. It's not something I'm like hardcore grinding, because since I have so many of these other games I'm playing right now, it's like this is something that I know the story too. So I just kind of pick it up when I feel like it, play for a couple hours, put it back down. And more of my attention's been on like Metaphor and Silent Hill right now, but it's great. It's exactly what I want it to be.
That's awesome. So I kind of fell out of, I never really played the Tenkaichi games that much. I like the Budokai ones more. I like the 2D, like besides the 2D ones more. Not Fighters is like my favorite Dragon Ball game.
So good.
But I know people love these games, and so it's awesome. What I remember from these kind of games is it's more about, it's not necessarily about like a competitive aspect, I would say. It's more like how you're saying, like Gogeta or whatever, Vegito does like way more damage than Krillin, and they're just kind of going for like being in more line with the canon, I guess you would say. Less competitive, just more about kind of getting in there and having fun. Would you say is that kind of?
Yeah, like you could still win with Krillin. Like I was like watching some YouTubers, because like again, I was surprised by like how bad my defense was in this game, that I was like watching people who were way better than me play the game, and kind of just understanding what a good player actually looks like in the driver's seat. And they were like playing as Krillin, just like going around like solar flaring people, which just blinds you completely, and just like beating up higher level characters that way. Like that's why I said there is tech that allows you to even the playing field. And I don't know if it's a damage difference. It's more like if I'm playing, say, base Goku, right? Like just, oh, this is the Goku from Z. And then I pull out Vegito's going to be easier to combo with just by like speed and strings. Like it's just, there's a little bit of ease to them. But I don't know if it comes out in damage necessarily. Maybe it's minuscule. I've played it a lot, but not tested as deeply to just pay attention to those numbers. I've also not fought online. I've just done a lot of single player content, because that's what I really played these games for in the first place. Like when I got, as a kid, Budokai Tenkaichi 2, that's my favorite in the series. Like I didn't invite friends over to fight against me. I actually hated that growing up. That was like my, I guess I didn't like confrontation much as a kid, because I just didn't want to like, I always like co-op games. I was like, I don't want to like
compete.
Yeah, compete, because I didn't care, but I had friends who would get like pissed, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. So so I played these games individually, and I knew them for their like very chunky story modes. Like Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is like not thesaurus, what's the term I'm looking for? It's a chronological retelling of like every fight in Dragon Ball Z, down to like the nitty gritty of like even repeat fights, like everything. It just covers it all. It's like an 80-hour game. I don't know if this game is that long, but that's what I know Budokai Tenkaichi for, and I got a lot of that energy here. Like, oh, it's just a strong retelling of everything I've seen before. It means that, again, because of the way the cutscenes are handled, some moments like, oh, Goku goes Super Saiyan for the first time against Frieza, very underwhelming. Like, it's not even remotely hype at all. Like, I just could not be more whelmed if I tried. But, I've seen it a million times, so I think a lot of Dragon Ball fans just kind of blur that. It's about the gameplay. It's about the roster. And that's what I say. It's everything you love and hate about Budokai Tenkaichi. It's like, this is not where all of the style and flair and the cutscenes went on display. It went on display in Kakarot, which is exactly what people wanted. Like when they saw Cyber Connect 2 working on it, they're like, oh, they did the Ultimate Ninja Storm cutscenes, and those were like better than the anime in a lot of ways. And so you get that in Dragon Ball Z. You get that retelling on like the grandest stage of it all, right? So I think it does exactly what it needs to, and it does enough where it's pretty good. But yeah, definitely like for a casual approach for sure. Like you can go ahead and just mash your way through. It's not supposed to be, I think, a deep competitive fighter, although I see a lot of people playing it that way. But you can definitely cheese. You can like spam key blast, all that crap. Like, yeah, there's definitely like holes, gaps in the armor that you can expose. It's very easy to do that.
Cool. Yeah, that reminds me of like, I only played some of them, but like the Ultimate Ninja Storm games or whatever like that. It was more like less about depth and just more kind of spectacle, which I think is totally fine. There's room for that.
Yeah, there's like a skill ceiling, but I think it's easier to reach. Like I have two friends who were really good at Ultimate Ninja Storm, and like when I fought them, they kicked my ass. So it's like there's something there, but it's like then they told me what to do, and I started to get to their level. So it's the same thing here. Like once you figure it all out, you raise to a certain area, and they have certain settings turned on by default that I think make the game harder than it actually is. I watched the YouTuber was like, yeah, turn off guard assist, turn off a Z counter assist, and they're like, you'll play much better. I'm like, okay, let's try. And suddenly I was like, defense was my biggest problem. I was like, suddenly I'm just vanishing everything and I can like get around stuff. And so there are like settings that I think try to help you but kind of do the wrong thing. So just for anyone who's been playing and maybe looking for a tip there, maybe look into that. Because I was like, am I getting old? Like that's been my big question lately. I'm pushing 30, right? So that's my big question with a lot of things. It's like, am I getting old? Like where I'm just not quick on the sticks. I was like, I don't want to have this happen. I feel like I still got it. And I find out the settings are betraying me. I'm like, that's right. I'm not getting old. Not yet.
Can't be me.
Can't be me.
Who's like your go-to characters, Matty?
Oh man, Trunks for sure. He's
Which
my
Trunks?
favorite. It is going to be future Trunks with the blue hair.
From like Super?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he gets like the God Sword and stuff. It's
awesome.
But of course the Z Trunks with like the black tank top, Super Saiyan is like my favorite look for Trunks. That's like workout motivation for me. He looks so cool in that picture. But I'll have him on my team. I will have Android 17 from Super on my team, particularly the universe. The universe tournament arc. Hit, I love Hit from Universe 6, so I'll throw him in there. And adult Gohan for sure. Anything involving like the Cell Saga, that's my favorite in all of Dragon Ball. So yeah, anything involving the Cell Saga, I'm all over. Because like growing up, like Legacy of Goku 2 focused on the Cell Saga. Budokai Tenkaichi, I think 2, like its longest stretch was the Cell Saga. It was amazing in Kakarot. Like I love this. I think it's just Dragon Ball storytelling at its strongest. It's like where all the iconic shots lie is in that. I think that and the Saiyan Saga are like the best parts of Dragon Ball storytelling. But those are like the 3 go-to for me. I love playing as all of them. Goku Black, of course. Goku Black is awesome. Just this regal version of Goku. He's got like a scythe that he like pulls out of his ring. Gives me goosebumps every time. He's so cool. So yeah, the cool factor is real with this game. I love playing it.
Ben, Dragon Ball, interested at all?
My friend from Belgium, somehow, as a man living in Western Pennsylvania, I happen to have 2 friends from Belgium. I don't know how that happened.
I thought you were talking about Locke. Wait, what? There's another?
Different another one.
Yeah.
There's another
Bizarro Locke. Yeah.
Bizarro Locke. He asked me the other day, he's like, are you going to play it? I'm like, dude, I haven't played a Dragon Ball fighting game since PS2, but I'm glad everybody's having fun with it. But no, I've always been just very much a casual fighting game for person. And it's like, oh, a buddy has it and I happen to be hanging out, I'll check it out. Or if it's on PS Plus or something like that. But no, it's not for, I guess it is for lack of interest. Fighting games don't do it for me like they used to when I was in the arcade. Yep.
How's the Final Flash in it, Addy? Is it good?
Oh yeah, the super moves across the board just in general are just epic. Like that's where all the spectacle is. My favorite one's actually between Jice and Birder. Like they have this, I forgot the name of the move, but it is the fucking sickest thing I've seen.
Oh, the Ginyu guys. Yeah. The Ginyu Force guys.
I forget the name of the move, but they like knock you up and like run in a circle and like this ball of energy grows as it like starts to hit you and your character just reacts to it in such a way that it's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of style in this game. Like when you revenge counter, so let's say someone counters you and then you counter them back, it'll like do the gong sound where it's like dun dun and it'll pull the camera in and your character will say something like, try taking this seriously. You know, it's like oh fuck yeah, like you get a little hype. So the game does that well, but the super attacks the Final Flash is a really good one. The voice acting, of course, as always with Dragon Ball, is really good. Very loud.
Yeah.
Lockmort, the other Belgium, his worst nightmare is just loud anime yelling, but it's here in spades, and I love it. So yeah, the super attacks are really cool though.
Nice. Let's see. This is from Elazar. Hello, fellow summoners. Question for Matty. What controls are you using to play Sparking Zero? I started with standard, but have since switched to classic controls. Kind of wish I could reassign inputs myself, though. Love the game and can't wait for future DLC.
I have been on standard. I heard about classic controls. I was testing it out. I think I'm gonna stick with standard though, because I feel like inputs for like defense are just way easier. Like, oh, you want to break a combo in classic? I think it's like triangle and circle at the same time. In the standard, it's like you just click R3. So I think that to me is just a good enough trade-off where I'll just adjust. But there is a little bit of muscle memory I'm breaking from it, because you do immediately want to play it like a Budokai Tenkaichi game. And when the classic controls are off, there's just certain things that you don't connect the dots on as quickly. It feels a little like you're fish out of water. But it's cool that they included this. I was really happy just to see it was there. I was like, again, just honoring that legacy in more ways than features is awesome. And so that's what I've been playing on as standard. And I prefer it just because of defense. But on offense, honestly, it's been tough, like stringing together combos and just getting used to how it's played.
Nice.
But again, I like that the feature is there.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right, this is from Eric Rodriguez. Hey, folks, just a quick question. Number one, why do we keep getting more Dragon Ball games? Do they generate that much revenue for the company? I'm shocked at all the iterations you can find for a show that has had barely any new TV content in the last 20 years. Are you really telling me it's profitable? Number two, game recommendation, Soma. Messes you up, messes with you. Has a great story. If you know, you know. Eric, there's been a lot of Dragon Ball content actually over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
We had like a whole new series and multiple movies. Like the series has over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And multiple movies and all that stuff. And what is it? Is it called Daima or whatever? It just came out.
Just came out. I'm gonna watch that tonight, I think. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Dragon Ball content, and yeah, they make a lot of revenue. That's why you keep getting them. Dragon Ball is a very popular franchise that people love all around the world. So it keeps making that money, man.
Manga is very relevant too. A lot of people read the manga online. Yeah, the games, like I said, you'll have your on years and your off years, but I argue sometimes, like as a joke, that I'm like, Dragon Ball is more of a video game franchise than an anime franchise at certain points, just by how much comes out. And here's the thing, man, it's just a built-in love. Like there's just I have a friend who I talk to like almost every day, who I haven't heard from since the game came out, because he's locking in. I'm like, dude, you've played this story 18 fucking times. Like, what is new? He's like, dude, I just fucking love it. So I just think people get this level of like, it just brings something out of you. And especially if it's like refreshing and new, like the what if stories are such a big deal for people. Like we're so trained to get the same thing that when it's something different, that's why Xenoverse 2 is still getting content. We're like, oh my God, it's new. And like they're fucking with the timeline. This is crazy. The fact that Xenoverse 2, that's like one of the most successful live service games no one talks about. Like it came out, they made you buy it, and they just have been supporting it since 2017. And people are like, where's Xenoverse 3? It's like, not anytime soon, man. Because they just put in like movie content into the game. From like the movie just came out, what, a year or two ago? Like it's ridiculous how popular it is, man. It is a whole brand unto itself.
I like never even like heard of that game, and then I heard it was like the most popular Dragon Ball game. I was like, what is this? It's crazy.
I don't get it, but
I mean, people love those characters.
I mean, customization has always been really a big part of Dragon Ball games since like Budokai Tenkaichi, where you could like get these like the Patara earrings and like increase your health and increase your power level in turn and take on like unique bosses in the story mode. And so that game is just like a love letter to that part of Dragon Ball. And I think it just meshed well with a lot of people, especially because it's multiplayer too. So, you have that. Like I've played the DLC for it, and I don't know, I've always thought the game is like, all right. For me, like my favorite of recent memories, either Fighters or Kakarot, because Kakarot has DLC that's legitimately really fucking good. Like both the Bardock expansion and the Trunks Future expansion are both like extremely well done. Like top-notch DLC even. So yeah, I love those, but to each their own. That's also the thing that I think keeps Dragon Ball ticking for people. It's just like there's so many ways to approach it. So many ways.
Man, I'm just happy there's good Dragon Ball games. Some of you younger kids, you don't know the shitty Dragon Ball games we had growing up. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout.
Oh, that was.
I was
so
playing the Super Famicom Dragon Ball games too. The fighters they were the imports. Those were not very good either. But that's all we really had. So that's what you played. And then when Budokai came along, and it was like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
A decent Dragon Ball game
where it started.
So you guys got lucky now, but thank God, because Dragon Ball is cool, and I'm so happy to see it thriving. I'm so stoked for everyone I know people love these Dragon Ball games, so I'm pumped for everyone. I saw Chris was playing it, so shout out to all you Dragon Ball fans.
Did you ever play? I had to look up the name because it was so bad. I was like, what is it called? Have you ever played Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22?
Let me look this up. This sounds familiar.
It's like awful, but it's an awful 2D fighting game.
22. No, I don't think I played this one. This was PS1. No,
Yeah.
I never played this.
Yeah,
I remember this cover though.
Yeah, the
But no,
cover.
I never played this.
because the cover is very cool. But I mean, like I feel like any Dragon Ball game is.
Yeah, that's true. You play it just because it's Dragon Ball. That's the way it was. But yeah, awesome. I'm really happy there's 2 like tiers of Dragon Ball fighting games. There's like the crazy, insane cast, tons of content like Sparking Zero and all that stuff that people love.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like the more serious competitive one with fighters and stuff like that. So
Exactly. Just approach
it's a
it
good time
as
to be
you
a
will.
Dragon Ball fan, man. You're still getting content for Dragon Ball. It's crazy. Like new content of Dragon Ball is so insane to me.
Yep.
But dude, shout out.
It's something about that era, bro. You have Dragon Ball still kicking on. You have One Piece still kicking on. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, One Piece is still going. Like it's not over.
Yeah.
They're rebooting it before it's done.
That's true.
So-
They're redoing it.
They're doing the East Blue arc, right?
They're remaking the show. So
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
yeah.
I practically just got out of that shit, and they're like, "We're gonna remake it." I'm like, "Thanks, guys."
It's probably gonna take a while, but
Yeah.
Don't worry, Matty. You got plenty. You got plenty to go.
Between that and Final Fantasy 14, I'm just like, well, I see these.
Yeah,
to the
you're
end
set
before
for
I
life,
die.
dude. You're set for life. All right, Ben. TCG Card Shop Simulator. You told me you're playing this. I was like, dude, that is such a cool random pick. I love that you're playing this.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this.
Talk to
It's
us.
funny. I often find myself getting in these like weird off games that nobody else is playing. I mean, I play all the popular stuff too, but
Right.
I really get stuck in these simulator games, as you guys know. So TCG Card Shop Simulator, I'm just going to call it Card Shop Simulator because talking is hard, is essentially you're running a shop, right? It's a simulator. You're running a shop where the majority of the thing you're doing is selling cards. They're from a game called Terramon, which, you know, it's just purely a Pokemon ripoff. That's not really the point of the game, though. Like in the game, you're going to, you know, buy different things to stock your store with, whether they be trading cards, packs of trading cards, big boxes of trading cards. You can also sell dice and board games and plushies and all sorts of stuff like that. So the game loop starts out. You start a day at 8 a.m. You open up your shop. People come in to buy different things. They pay you money and they leave. There is a mechanic in which, you know, the value of different things changes every day. So not only, you know, the card packs may change a little bit and you have to determine how to price things out that way. But also you can actually break those packs open and open them yourself and then choose whether you want to just collect them or whether you want to put them out for sale and price them appropriate to the market.
Dude, wait, I got to interrupt you. I'm watching this trailer and I just watched it. There's a dude sitting in the shop who smells bad and you actually spray it with an air
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Sorry, go on.
I told Brad and I were hanging out in voice chat the other night and I told him about that. And I was like, this is a good game because they're confronting the real issues here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I've literally, as someone who played a lot of card games, I've had that experience. It's just so funny. Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt. I just couldn't believe that.
No, it's fine.
So good.
It's totally fine. That's something I was going to bring up. Actually, was that was something. And not only can you get out that aerosol and spray people as you progress further in levels, you could actually get like air purifier machines. And I have mine set up in a way like sometimes just one spritz from it won't get the person smelling good. I actually have it set up so I have like 2 in the entrance of the store, so that when they come in they get double dosed.
That's genius.
Yeah. And you have to constantly refill those and everything.
Cleans them off before they enter.
So as you progress, of course, more and more people are going to come to your shop. You can read the reviews that people think about your shop, see if people think it's overpriced or underpriced. You can eventually set up tables where people can come in and actually play card games or play board games or whatever, and different types of tournaments that you can set up that enable you to be able to, charge more. That's going to cost you more to put on the game because you're giving away card packs, but it also encourages people to come in and spend more and more money, and then they'll also shop while they're there. Eventually you can keep expanding your shop a little bit by little bit. You gain XP for every person who comes in and plays a game. You gain XP for every purchase someone makes. Every time you open packs yourself, you gain XP. And so you get different upgrades. As long as you have the money and the level for your card shop, you can expand the shop and make it bigger. And the more space you have, the more people who are coming in. Eventually it gets to a point where maybe you want to hire somebody. You can go out and recruit people, whether you want them to like restock your shelves, whether you want them to man the cash register, whatever the case is. You can go and hire them, and of course, they, based on their set of skills, they cost more or less. And that's there's so much more here. This actually is a pretty deep game, but that's kind of the gist: is that you're running a card shop. You're also able to collect these cards, and you're also able to spray smelly people with stuff to make them smell better. But there is I don't know if there is really an end goal here. It's very much, I'm sorry. You can also put out your cards that you have on display. It tells you how many cards there are in the set. If you get the, higher end ones, you can put those out for display if you want. You can sell singles, as I mentioned. But that's kind of the whole loop of the game is you're just running a card shop. You're continuing to make money, increase your store's reputation, expand your store, and offer more and more things. Eventually you get to the point where you're having to buy new things to put on the shelf for people to buy, but also if you get enough people coming in to play games, you're getting a lot of passive income that way too, because they're just coming in and using your table and paying you money to be there to buy the packs that are required for the game, etc. So it's very surface level in some sense, and then it's also got like this whole economy built into it that it kind of takes a little bit of finessing, and you have to check your prices every day because if you go a week without checking your prices and the market has gone way down and you just kept your prices where they were, people are going to start complaining about that and not want to buy them. So yeah, that's the gist. And I know we have a question at some point here too, but I don't know. There's so many of these. I've played Gas Station Simulator. I've played Super. All of them are fine, but they're not quite the level. They're not this level. They're not this addictive loop. And I think a lot of that has to do with opening these trading card packs.
Yeah.
Right.
That's got to be fun.
It's like you're building a collection. And I have a friend who's playing it, and I'll pull like a card that says it's valued at $2,000. I send him, I'm like, dude, can you believe I just got? And he's like, isn't it crazy that we're so excited about something that not only isn't a real card that we could keep for value or sell for money, it's not even worth it's not even like we're collecting crypto or stocks here. It's just cool little collectibles in a game. So yeah. I don't know. It's very addicting.
I don't know. I guess it's like getting like a really nice item drop in a game or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Like I don't know, like get a nice drop in Diablo or something like that, or PoE. You're like, something like that. That kind of feel.
This doesn't really have any impact on my enjoyment of the game, but I should mention I didn't buy this. It was sent to me by the developer. So
okay.
Full disclosure there.
Yeah. Let's see. This is, I think it's like $15. It's $13 on Steam.
Yeah, it's not very expensive.
Overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. Because I have played so many of these games and been so disappointed by them, I was like not interested. And then when I got a little more interest in it, like I saw some stuff about it and then I got the code from them, I was like, oh, I got to play this. And I think I've put like 15 hours in it this week. And it's just a card sim. Like it's so dumb, but it's so good. How
is this so as the connoisseur of sim games, right? Like you're the one who brought Power Wash Sim to the people. So how does this scale to that?
I think it's much different. It's a very different type of simulator game. Power Wash Simulator, it's an active simulator, where this is more of a passive simulator, it feels like. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still very much doing things, but in Power Wash Simulator, you're cleaning an area, you're making sure that everything is presented correctly. And for as great as Power Wash Simulator is, one of the only people in the world that was excited for it before it came out, I will say.
Yeah.
It is also very, in a lot of ways, very simple, because the whole point of Power Wash Simulator is you're just cleaning, and you just clean, and that's the game. With this game, it's a simulator in a different way, that you're doing a lot more things. You're actually having to manage an economy. You're having to, spray down smelly guests. You're having to determine how you want your shop set up. There's more of a design method with it. So I think I still enjoy, personally, the Zen-like gameplay in Power Wash Simulator. Like, that's definitely... Power Wash is always going to be my number one sim game, but this is a very different one where it's actually a simulator.
Sure,
you're actually running the ins and outs of a card shop, and there's that collectability with it too. It makes it very different.
These sim games do a good job at scratching a particular itch in your brain, and each does its own little division of your brain. So, like, for me, I loved Thief Simulator because I love games that let me steal. Like, I loved playing, say, Dishonored, because obviously it's cool being a supernatural assassin. We're like, oh, I can like pick up everything, and I can take this and I can buy upgrades with it. It's why I like Thief and the Game Studios games even. So like when I played Thief Simulator, I'm like, oh my God, it's a whole game about just fucking stealing shit. Like,
you're a closet klepto. I get it.
Yeah, no, I've been saying that for years. I'm like, there's something in me that like I must want to steal something someday. I don't know. Maybe I'll just steal the hearts of our fair audience though instead.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I so it's something to be said about that, because this one, I saw the title of it, I was like, I can't wait to talk about this, because I love going to card shops and like playing card games. Like, that's what I did for years. And to see this, I'm like, oh, this is a dangerous game, man. Like, if I got if it got its hooks into me, like, the only thing that kept me off of this, Ben, is I saw it was early access. I'm like, okay, like that's usually.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm not a big early access guy. I'm always like, even with my standard is always, I waited for Baldur's Gate 3. If I can wait for that, I can wait for anything, because like once it's done, that's when I'll come in. But that's the only thing that kept me away from not insta buying this, is like, okay, like they still got some work to do and see what they add on afterwards. But man.
At the title screen of the game, they show a list of things they're working on and what they've accomplished, which is really cool. Like, one of the things they're planning to introduce is that you can actually trade cards with your customers. I'm sure it's like some board you put things up on. That way you can fill out your collection, I assume. That's better, which is really cool.
I'm curious of like all the, because like I was like, I played like Dragon Ball at a card shop for years, funny enough. So I like got to know the shop owners really well, and I'm just so curious like what nuances they're gonna get into with like shop ownership. Like, do you have to like pay rent or anything, like based on how much money?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Based on how big your store is, and based on and then here's one very important mechanic I forgot to mention. You also have to pay your utilities, and your utilities increase or decrease based on how long you leave the lights on. So I don't turn my lights on until it starts to get a little bit dim, so that I can decrease my power bill for the day.
Interesting.
Yeah. Ben, walk us through an average day for you in this game.
Okay, so you it's morning. You decide if your shelves are stocked. So I usually stock all my shelves at night, so I'll do that last. I go in 8 a.m., walk into the shop, flip the sign on the door around. There's usually like a couple people walking by, flip the sign around that says open, and then you get the morning rush, right? A bunch of people come in. Some people sit down at the tables and play games. A lot of people just shop, and then they come up to the counter, you check them out, they leave, and that continues. Later in the day is when people start coming in to play more and more games, and your shop starts to fill up more. And of course, you're still making money during that time, but maybe not as many sales. That's the time where typically I'll go around, look at the shelves, see what's missing, see what I need to restock, make those orders. And it's kind of funny because when you place an order, there, as soon as you like close the screen where you place the order, you look outside and they're at your front door. Like, that's not, maybe not the most realistic thing, but they're waiting on you. You go get them, you restock the shelves, anything extra that you have, you put away on storage. And then you just continue to check people out until the end of the day. And you're constantly managing your inventory. After the shop closes, 9 p.m. hits, the store's closed. people who are already nobody else will come in, but people who are already in there might still be shopping. They make their sales. People are still playing games. You can actually go and tell them, hey, it's time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll go buy something after the fact. And then at the end of the night, I go in and make sure that I have stock for the next day. Make sure everything's restocked. All my singles are restocked as well. That's usually the time when I choose to, when I'm ordering stuff, if I want to buy some more card packs, that's the time when I'll buy for myself to open. I'll do that. I'll open those card packs as well. And then I'll just make sure everything's set up for the next day and good to go. And I forgot one thing. The first thing I do every morning is I go in, and just so I know how much money I have to work with that day, I'll go in, I'll pay my rent, because you can pay it in advance. I pay the employee salary. If I have any employees, I dismiss them frequently, honestly, just because I'm like, I don't need this guy. And then 7 days later, I'm like, oh, I really need a guy to work the register. And I pay the utility bill. So that's essentially it. And then every couple days you have enough money to make an upgrade or to buy the license to be able to sell a new type of card or a new pack. And I usually do all that. Like, the morning is pretty much just open the store and get it going. And then I do all the busy work at the end of the night.
Gotcha. All right. The Uncharted Wolf wrote in, what's up, summoners? Ben, TCG Card Shop Simulator is one of the most addicting games of the year for me, and I can't explain why. The Pokemon mod got me even more obsessed with it, giving me even less time to play real games. Have you messed around with mods for the game? Are you worried that you will never get to play a real game again? Thanks for all you do.
Yes, I'm worried that I'll never play a real game again, but the mantra I always tote, and that Brad has talked about with me, is I used to get this like deep feeling of, oh no, I'm missing out on other stuff. And I still get that. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of FOMO, but I'm very much a play what you want to play when you want to play it kind of person. And if this is what you want to play right now, play it. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm playing other stuff too, but this is very much, every time I'm playing it, I'm like, oh man, I could be playing something with a story right now. But it doesn't matter. As far as the mods, I didn't mention this because I saw this question. I saw that there are a lot of different mods, and of course, some of them are to do with Pokemon and everything. Honestly, I'm so far past knowing any Pokemon past the original starter, the starter Pokemon from back in the day, the original 151 or whatever it was, that it would be just the same as these made up ones to me. So that hasn't really appealed to me. But there are a lot of other mods that don't. There's some like mods that I think break the game, like make everyone have exact change. Well, if they have exact change, then it takes you less time to check them out. And then that's a skill. You got to be fast at checking them out so you don't get bad reviews for long checkouts. So I haven't done that one. There's some that make everything worth double and people are willing to pay double. I don't want any mods that break the game. But the two mods I have gotten, I have messed around with. One is so that it turns on the light switch automatically every day at a certain time. And it's always like 5 o'clock for me because that's about when it starts to get dark. I figured that's a real one because you can get smart house things that turn on your lights. I'm fine with that one. The other one, and this is a little bit less realistic, allows you to pick up as many cards as you want at one time. Because who's to tell me I can only pick up a maximum of 8 cards? I got big hands. I can pick up more cards. But it also allows you to just continually open packs and do it faster. So normally, like with the base game, opening a pack of cards is probably 10 seconds, maybe not even that long, and to go through each one. And it shows you each one, and it tells you if it's rare, and it tells you if it's a new card that you haven't gotten before, and how much it's worth. With this, you can set different thresholds. So like, okay, I want to be able to pick up 64 packs of cards, click, or actually press R, and it just opens them rapid fire. I have it set so that it'll only show me a card if it's brand new to my collection, or if it's valued at above, and you can set this with this mod, above $30, because that's pretty much the minimum I want to put out as a single. And then like the other night, I literally made it so that I could pick up 128 packs. I set the opening speed pretty quickly, and then I told it not to stop at new cards. And then I ordered like, I think it was like a dozen boxes of 64 packs of cards, put them all in my hand, clicked R, and then went and took a shower and came back. And like, I had all these new cards, like maybe that breaks the game a little bit, but not for me. Like, so I've messed around with the mods and they're pretty cool, but it's so crazy just to sit there and just like if you use that mod, just like watch them flip through incredibly fast.
Yep.
And only see the ones that are worth, what you want to see. So yeah, those are the mods I've played with around a little bit, and they're very easy to install. You just gotta download the mod from Nexus and throw it in the folder. But I won't do the ones that, for me, I don't want to break the game. I don't want to be able to have more space without really having space. I don't really want the economy to be all messed up.
Yeah.
Like, I like the game enough that I only want the things that are like true quality of life things.
Yeah.
Not game breaking stuff. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that kind of mod.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. Yeah, really a lot of positive reviews on Steam, so it's doing something right.
It's insane.
People are digging it. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I bet there's like Magic the Gathering mods and
Oh yeah,
Probably,
all that
yeah.
stuff. Maybe when they add a Dragon Ball mod, Maddie, you can get in there.
I don't even want to look.
I think there is. I'm going to look right now.
Already? Wow. Good lord.
It is oh my god, dude! 43,000 people played this game in the last hour. All time.
That's
people.
crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Let's see here. Unique downloads. We got a Pokemon one.
Have to have Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh
I'm
my
pretty sure
god.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Get Exodia and that shit. Oh.
Oh, and Matty, it's funny because you mentioned about going to card shops to play games. I used to play a lot of mini games, like miniatures, at card shops, and I definitely understand that. And then this is going to surprise you, but as I know you guys know Emily, she's into Yu-Gi-Oh, and she and the kids will go sometimes.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
She's into nothing nerdy, but her brother got her into Yu-Gi-Oh. She goes to our local comic shop and plays Yu-Gi-Oh with some other guys.
That's sick.
And she's always
That's awesome.
she's always like, it's, and she's never felt uncomfortable or anything. She's really, the guys there are really nice, but she's always like, yeah, there's definitely some social awkwardness in BO that
yeah,
the BO, dude.
Yeah,
it's real, man.
So yeah,
Take a
It's
shower.
unfortunately not just like this stereotype that's hung around for too many years. It's very true. It's very
real. It's
Yeah.
very real.
I know Smash players dealt with that a lot too. So
Oh man, yeah.
take a shower,
Yeah.
wear deodorant, guys.
I always remember going to PAX one
Brush
year
your
and they
teeth.
were straight up handing out deodorant. I'm like, does this not offend
Yeah.
anyone? Like that you just are known for smelling this bad. Don't you just take a sense of pride? Like, I'm gonna take a shower this morning before I go out, so no one has the right to hand me free deodorant. Like, that's terrible, man.
Here's the thing. Like, I think I've said this before, but I'm never going to be one of those guys that you like walk up to and you're like, oh man, he smells so good. But my goal is to never be one of those guys that you walk up to and think he smells bad.
Right.
Like, I just want to not smell like anything, like I want to be clean, and that's good enough. But I imagine if you're somebody like us who doesn't want to smell bad in public, then you would actually appreciate maybe somebody being like, hey, like a friend, hey, just so you know, you got a little BO going on.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who's so unaware that you don't know that you should shower or smell bad, I have a feeling you also would not be offended by someone handing you a free
That's fair.
Deodorant stick or
deodorant.
something.
Thank you. Yeah. Like, you'd just be like, oh cool, they're handing out deodorant. I might try this.
I might give this a fucking whirl. Why not?
Please try it.
Yeah.
Please. All right, boys. Let's end the show with some questions from the audience, as we always do on this show and many of our other shows. If you want to send a question to this show, I post a thread every Saturday, usually in the very early afternoon or just in the early afternoon, calling for your submissions. You get about 24 hours to submit, so that's the rundown on how we do things. Maddie, what day do you guys do your show, your thread?
We put our thread out today on Monday. I actually just put it up while we were in the middle of recording.
Oh, okay, nice.
I usually have a reminder on my phone for 12:30 every day to go live with it. I'm a little behind. But yeah, that's when I usually post it.
That's how we do it
on Wednesdays.
Yeah, for all of our shows, we'll put up a thread. You can submit there, so keep an eye out. All right, this is from Easy Icon or Easy Icon. Hey guys, hope your day is well. Was thinking about Halo going to Unreal, and many stating it's to attract more talent, with many more people having experience with Unreal over their own in-house engine. My question is, why don't more studios license their own engines, like Sony licensing the Decima engine? Thanks and take care. What do you guys think this is?
I've got a couple of theories on this. I think, Ben, you'll be able to chime in more on this than me. But first is, like, I treat it like you're a small restaurant and you have a secret dish. You don't just give out the recipe for that. I think that's one. Like, for example, we kind of see with like what Monolith did, what WB did with like the Nemesis tech, but that was on a proprietary engine. So maybe it's something like they could uniquely accomplish there. So I think it's like protecting the secret sauce. I miss the days where like Bethesda gave Obsidian like, here's the creation engine, like go make a new Fallout game. I don't know if it's as difficult to pick up as say other game engines, like what the nuances and differences are. But my guess is also if you were to hand this over, like there are people who have to be deeply familiar with what this is capable of, just like it's commonly known for a lot of developers how to use Unreal or how to use Unity, like these free public engines. But I think Ben might have a better or more educated answer than I on this sort of thing. Those are just my guesses.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a better, more educated answer, but I have a different answer. I think a lot of it has to do with typically when someone chooses to make their own engine over licensing another engine, it's because they have a unique set of needs that they want. Now, granted, there are some like they don't want to pay fees or something like that, but it's very costly especially for AAA to develop an engine. And so I think that when you're making an engine for your games, they're specifically tailored to your games. And that's not always going to be super appealing to other people without a lot of modifications. Now, you have things like Unreal that are very flexible and they can be used for all sorts of stuff. But that didn't happen out of the box. That came later. People have to develop modifications for these and they have to develop all sorts of other, technical specifications, for lack of a better way to say it, for them. And that takes time as well. So when people are learning how to use these things, they are learning the base thing, and then they're still having to make other things work to make certain things in their games work. So I think that if you're somebody who isn't gigantic like Sony or Epic or whatever, that has an engine, in order to make it viable for someone else to want to use it, you would have to sink a lot more time into making it more flexible. And if that's the case, then why would I want to sink in that time when somebody might still choose Unreal or something that's their whole thing, rather than doing that? So I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with time and resources and the needs,
Yeah.
That's just a guess.
No, yeah, I think those are both really good answers from both of you. I think probably both true to an extent. It has been interesting to see a lot of developers switch to like Unreal. Let's say like we've been seeing, like Square Enix was switching to Unreal for a lot of their stuff. Halo's doing it now. We're seeing more. And I'm curious, Matty, just as a Bethesda fan, one thing I hear people complain about Bethesda games is the engine, and I don't really I'm not super familiar with it. Do you think the engine itself is kind of hindering them nowadays?
No. A lot of people don't like that answer, but no. I think because I think people move the goalposts on their engine a lot. Like at first it was like they're not capable of making an RPG in this engine. It's like, well, you see things like Far Harbor, and Starfield does have role-playing chops. It's just I think the designers at Bethesda don't make great reactive RPGs, but mods have certainly proven that you can take these tools as is and make highly reactive RPG experiences. There is an argument to be made with Starfield and the absolute massive scope of that game and like how the worlds are generated that it has, especially when you play Shattered Space, you see how like they generate the landmass and everything within one, like all the locations are within one cell, and how that has provided some complications. I could hear that argument being made, but I think that's Starfield specific rather than you look at the broad spectrum of their games. But I don't really like, I think one thing that's going to sneak up on them though is my big line of defense always with Creation Engine was like the customization it provides. Like you see the mods that come with it, and people are making full games out of it, that sort of thing. And now a lot of developers are catching up on that. Baldur's Gate 3 has mods and in-game mod support at that. CD Projekt Red has that with Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3. Like they have a ton of modding support. It used to be very Bethesda Game Studios unique, and it's not anymore. So I think the argument's going to gain some ground for people, and it's really tough to say like they'd be wrong about that because now the things that made that engine unique are no longer as unique. It's by the way, within their greatest competitors now. So I don't anticipate them ever switching engines because I think it's kind of like I use his examples like I use Sony Vegas. It's clearly an inferior editing software to something like Adobe After Effects, but I know the stink of Vegas so well. I'm way better at making videos in that than I ever will be in Adobe After Effects. And I think that could be the case with Creation. They're just like, we just know how to do this here. That's it. So I don't know. I don't fully blame the engine right now. I think it's a talent problem. I think it's a systemic issue with Bethesda as it stands. And it's up to them to really get out of that. But I think the engine allows them to accomplish what they have in the past. Like, it hasn't changed in the negative so much that they could go make another Skyrim if they wanted to, in the terms of like land mass and scale and exploration. They just have chosen to make anything but that. Really, Fallout 4 is the closest we got to that, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I always think it's cool when like a game has its own engine or a company has its own engine, but it definitely doesn't play out necessarily great every time. I'm thinking of Frostbite with all the problems it gave people for other games with EA and all that stuff. But I mean, Unreal Engine seems really universal and a lot of people seem to like it. So I guess it is a smart idea, and I could see why a lot of people are doing it. Like, 'cause people just have experience with it, like we were saying with Halo, that might help it to some extent. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't want everything to be an Unreal Engine game because I do, like I was saying, I do like unique engines, but I don't know. I'm not a game developer, so I really don't know what it's like or if it's worth it. But I think you saying, Ben, it just depends on what you want to do with it. And like Matt, you're saying, just having an understanding of your engine is just as important, probably.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the one specific thing. Like, I was thinking about the Decima. I think it was the Decima. And was Days Gone in Decima?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, actually. Let me see.
I just feel like I remember something about
Death Stranding was?
Yes. Death Stranding was.
Yeah. What was Days Gone in? Well, whatever it was. In this particular engine that they used when they were making Days Gone, I just
Unreal
saw
4.
like a little... Was it Unreal 4? Okay. I saw something in an interview one time where they were like, yeah, there's no way to make a motorcycle. And I'm speaking somewhat uneducated about this because I don't know if there's a way or not, but this is my remembrance of this. Like, there's no way to make a motorcycle, so we had to take the truck asset or whatever and figure out how to flip it, so that it was both axles or both sets of wheels were on one set of wheels, and then reskin it so they could use. So like, it may just be that like my whole game is centered around this one mechanic, and that engine isn't going to have it. So I gotta modify it still. So I think it's just a matter of what is the least modification that you need to do to an engine. Yeah.
All right. This is from Nevitz. Hello, BMB. I was wondering if you all had a gaming experience that was enhanced by the location you were in. For instance, my girlfriend and I took a mini vacation out to the Western United States. I was in the middle of my playthrough of Horizon Zero Dawn in 2018. I could not put the game down, so I brought the PS4 with us on the trip.
Nice.
Spoilers. I guess this is spoilers. So if you're worried about Horizon Zero Dawn spoilers, very minor, but whatever. You've been warned. I finished the game and was so surprised that the game was taking place in the Western United States as well. The cool autumn air of the outside and the beautiful landscapes really enhanced my ending playthrough of the game. Thanks, and keep it up. All right. Has our environment that we've been playing the game in ever enhanced our experience with it?
I think weather is a big one for me.
I was just gonna say that.
Yep. Yeah.
It was raining last night when I was playing Silent Hill, and I was like, "This is perfect." Like, I love it.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
It was a rainy night playing Silent Hill in the dark. I was like, "This couldn't get better." So for me, it's weather. Location. I associate locations with games. Like the weekend I proposed to my now wife, I had Pokemon Heart Gold with me on my DS, and like, when I think of that game, I think of that moment, and vice versa. Like, they kind of connect. Like, I feel like games have always done that for me. They're like conduits to core moments in my life, it seems. So that's kind of, I guess, location. But like, playing a game in a specific spot, this is very like, just seems like distinct and unique in how Nevin's handled it. So, but I haven't had that experience personally.
What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I was gonna say the weather thing as well. I definitely have had instances where, like, because it was, raining or snowing or whatever, it definitely enhanced the experience. Or there have been games, even though earlier I said I don't pick spooky games for Halloween season, there have been games where like it's happening around a certain time of the year, and that's the same time of year it is in real life. That's definitely enhanced that. I was thinking though more about like a very specific example. When back in the late 90s, I was playing Crash Bandicoot. I think I was on the level, I think it was Road to Nowhere in the original Crash Bandicoot. And I remember like the specific sequence, and my sister was in a different room, and she had done something at school or something, she was very young too. And my parents were having a discussion with her, and it wasn't like a heated discussion or anything, but it was like, I knew she was in trouble. And so like there was this little bit of feeling of dread inside of me. And then when I played the game when they remade it, a couple of years ago, and I got to that level, for some reason I just had this feeling of dread, and I remembered that specific thing. And so like that has happened to me many times where I'll be playing something specifically, and either something's going on or something in my life is happening, and it kind of ties that thing to that portion of the game or that game entirely. So I think I make those associations way more than I would location, because frankly, I play most of my games in my house. Maybe I take my Switch or a Steam Deck with me on a trip, but I definitely just play most of the things like where I live.
Yeah.
So location is always the same.
I'm kind of like you in that sense, Ben. Weather for me obviously does enhance stuff. Like horror games, I like to play at night, especially, or time of day is important for me as well. But like I remember playing Mario Sunshine when it came out in the middle, like summer or whatever, and it's like all bright and shiny out. I'm like, yeah, this is perfect, stuff like that. But like rain is always good. I obviously don't get snow here. I imagine it's the most comfy thing though ever when you're playing and it's snowing outside. So I've always been envious of that. In terms of like taking a game somewhere, I don't think I've ever like. I remember I like took my grandma had an NES when I was very young at her house in Vegas. We'd go to every Thanksgiving. So I remember playing Castlevania 1 very late at night at her house, like in like a little guest room I'd stay in. And I remember that kind of like enhanced the spooky vibes because I wasn't at home where it's more comfortable, I guess. But yeah, I don't think I've taken a PS4 on like a road trip. It's not a bad idea, but I don't think I've ever done something like that recently. Because if I do, I'm taking the Switch or something, or a Game Boy. That's just easy to take around. But that is cool.
That's the closest thing I can think of. We went on like a youth group trip one time, like a bunch of us, and we stayed in this cabin in Tennessee, and they had a PlayStation. I can't remember if it was PS3 or 4, but a PlayStation hooked up, and they had Rock Band with it. And I mean, we'd already been playing Rock Band, and we just played it there. But I still like, when I think about good memories from Rock Band, I think about that couple days we spent there playing it, rather than the hundreds of hours we played it.
Yeah,
at my house. So
yeah, it's so funny. Because speaking of weather with games, it just reminds me of the most just staring at myself in the mirror moment I had in high school, where I remember telling this guy, he was like, I think he was like the captain of the school hockey team. So like wrong person to voice this to. I was just like, yeah, like I love when it rains because it kind of gives me an excuse just to kind of like play games, and it's like really cozy. He's like, well, like what's the difference between that and like when it's sunny out? And I just kind of had this oh fuck moment because he was totally right. I was like, yeah, like at that point in my life, it just didn't fucking matter. I was just like it definitely made me look in the mirror and reflect for a moment. I'm like, yeah, I guess it doesn't make a difference. He's right. Like I was going to be doing this anyway.
I'm a fucking loser.
I know, really. It was like that moment of he was like an asshole about it. He was more like kind of matter of fact, like, dude, you were kind of doing that anyway. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, facts, dude.
That's funny, right. We've all been there. Yeah. It is a good excuse for the public to keep up appearances.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Just to maintain that I'm not a total fucking dork.
Yeah. All right. This is from Nick Vayu. Hey, gents. Last week I asked for your advice on getting into turn-based combat games, and you guys gave me some fantastic feedback. Thanks for that. Now, the decision. I tried the Metaphor demo and almost died of cringe when I saw there was ostensibly furries in the game.
Oh, no.
Maybe I have to build up to that. So I decided to take Locke's recommendation and try out Baldur's Gate 3. The story and characters are great, and so far, that's enough to carry me through the turn-based combat.
No furries in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, get ready,
to have sex with a bear, dude.
Yeah. I think my biggest problem with turn-based, as lame as it sounds, is how immersion breaking it is. I'm huge on that in games, which is probably why Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us series are my favorite games of all time. Taking your advice from last week and looking at turn-based as a game of chess is actually really helping, though. I'll keep you guys updated in a few weeks or so to see how my progress goes. Love the content, guys, and keep on keeping on.
Nice.
All right, so we got a little bit from Nick. Nick is diving into turn-based games, so we're getting small victories there.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, nice. I'm gonna defend Metaphor real quick right here because I love making fun of furries as much as the next person, 100%. I will say the furries in Metaphor are better though. They're not like full-on animals. Do you know what I mean? That's not like someone wearing a fursuit. You're talking to a wolf man or something like that. They just got like maybe some like dog ears or something like that and a tail. We're not full-blown furry yet. They're just like on the cusp. There's a little flavor there. So I'm going to defend it there.
They're not furries. They just have body parts that are not human. There's a big difference.
Right.
They're not dressing up as the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to a furry convention, you'll see a real furry. All right. Well, maybe don't go, but
Don't go.
don't go. Just look up a video. You'll see a real furry. But I'm sure Lockmore will be pleased you're playing Baldur's Gate 3 if he hears this.
I'm upset Locke gave him a win. So no one tell him about this, please.
Yeah.
All right. And our last question is from Wibble. Hey, y'all. I'm still pretty new to the LSM world, and maybe this is more of a Duke Show question. I want Xbox to stay relevant in the console conversation. Could Microsoft take what they see from the PS5 Pro, make something better, and more importantly, sell it cheaper in the next year or two, and potentially try to turn the tide a little bit in the console wars? Also, is there any chance that Xbox can keep third parties interested for the Series S while publishers are going to be spending resources to make pro-level games? Now, Matty, I brought this on here because you are an Xbox expert. So I'd let you answer this. What you think?
Yeah, this is a hot button topic on the show,
Yes.
Will. So if you're curious about this, definitely, if you got some time, we got a lot of shows going on, but if you have some time, feel free to tune in to Defining Duke, because this is something that we go back to a lot. Is the big speculation is, will Xbox reset early? Because it just seems like that more and more the situation is calling for it. There's a lot up in the air. Like Sarah Bond did tease, like we're getting some sort of hardware announcement this year. And I don't know if that was like the new kind of Series X model, or if they meant like they're actually going to invest in like a handheld, like many people are hoping they do. And is that handheld more of like an in-betweener to the next generation? Or the rumor has been they're going to do like a new Series X style console, and then the Series S substitute is the handheld, which I think is a smart way of going about it. But there's a lot of question marks flying around Xbox hardware, and their commitment to it because of them going sort of multi-plat in a lot of ways. So it's a lot of question marks for even people who like talk about them week to week. And I think if you were to ask me, a lot of people do want them to sort of hit the soft reset button, in that, like, it's a whole other can of worms, because they finally are at the point where they are starting to get games and consistently release them like people have been asking for. And as they're doing this, they are giving them out to their competitors, and it's frustrating for their fan base, because it's like, this is the moment they've been waiting for. And right as it came to a head, like, oh, they finally got Activision and they have all these exclusives. And imagine, like, what can they do with Spire? What can they do with Tony Hawk? And it just like, they're just selling them to everyone now. And so a lot of Xbox fans are gutted. So that's like the one can of worms that just is like, now that you've opened it, can you even go back? But a lot of people are asking, can they do what the 360 did, which is they went 2 years ahead of PlayStation. And I think getting a jump on them was a huge part of their success. The bigger part of the success was Gears, Halo. Like, these series were doing the best they ever had been. But I think Xbox has a lot of valuable IP, and especially when you're like, your upcoming games are things like Elder Scrolls 6, like, you got to be eyeing that 2026 relaunch and just think about, what can we do? We got a bunch of Halo projects announced, and no doubt that with the Halo 25th anniversary coming up, 2026 is a very tasty window for Xbox to kind of lean into for some sort of, imagine if they launch a new system, and with that new system is a new Halo game, just like the original Xbox. Like, I feel like more and more evidence is suggesting that they will want to do what the 360 did, because what I think can hurt Xbox the most right now is if PlayStation steps ahead of them. So if PlayStation goes first with a handheld, which no doubt they're working on too, I think the Xbox handheld is fucked, just because even if the feature set's better, it's just about mind share now. It's like, you are not capturing the minds of people enough, and you have to step in aggressively and do something. And I think that's what calls for the generation reset earlier, especially if they do what I no doubt they will do, is like, everything from your Xbox One to this system, like, because of the cloud and everything, you can just play here. I just think they can get away with the reset a little easier than their competitors, who are more like bound to their particular new piece of hardware, where Xbox can kind of create the familial feel. The problem is, you introduce the Wii U issue here of like, people thinking this brand new thing is just like an add-on. It's this is why we very rarely go back to the well on it, because it's every time it's like a black hole of just like what if scenarios. And I just don't think we know enough right now to kind of say, like, could they take the PS5 Pro and make something better and sell it cheaper? It's like they might, or maybe they don't see value in that, because right now they just put like Game Pass and everything on Amazon Fire Sticks for the 4K versions, and we're seeing how that's going. Is that going to increase the subscriber base? Because the other problem is, we don't really work with a lot of data on the Xbox side of things. We work with player counts, but we don't know sales. We don't know subscription numbers. We know them as well as you do. So it's really tough to analyze Xbox. And I think because they're cagey, that's what leads to a lot of the bad faith assumptions that are made about the company because we just have no data to work with. So it's such a tough brand to really dissect because you just only know as much as they're willing to let you know. And they're very talkative. So sometimes you know a lot and they say very stupid things. But in the terms of just resetting in a year or two, I hope so. And I think they will do it because that is the stronger part of their IP library. I think if we're talking like front half, back half right now, this current generation, if it were to end next year, I think the big one that will be sort of send it off would be a Fable because that's like their last one in the chamber before you get things like the Outer Worlds 2 or Call of Duty or new Halo or new Elder Scrolls 6, new Fallout game. I mean, there's a lot there that they can. Perfect Dark looks really good. There's a lot loaded up that they can effectively relaunch with, and by the way, more readily support. Whereas when you look at the first 2 years of the Series X lifespan, man, it's like very disheartening. When you look at launch year, nothing. Then follow up, you have a blast of games in the holiday season of 2021, which is great. That's what more people were looking for. In 2022, you had Pentiment and you had Grounded hitting 1.0. It was awful. So I'm sure they as well would like to hit the retry button and not give up so readily when I think it's so obvious they can have greater success, especially because they hit the ground running this generation with great console sales because people were like believing in Game Pass and this vision. And I think because there was no delivery of the products, people just gave up. And now we're seeing the results of that. Anyway, I could go on. But
yeah, I have two questions for you, Matty, before I hand it over to Ben. Get his opinion.
Sure.
One is, do you think the general Xbox audience or the fan base now wants them to go ahead and pull the trigger on early hardware? And two is, whenever this Xbox comes out, do you think they're still going to be putting games on PlayStation or anything else?
Yes and yes. I think, yes, they'll definitely be going multi-plat. The problem is just being able to distinguish like what's going to be exclusive or not. Like, is Halo going to stay? But what's the difference between that and like, is this the rule of thumb? Like, if you're Xbox Game Studios, as in you're a Rare or you're the many developers that are under the Xbox brand, but let's say those are exclusives, but anyone who's like Bethesda now or Activision, they go multi-plat. Is that kind of the rule of thumb? Because now you're doing multi-plat for Indiana Jones already. I'm sure Starfield, inevitable. That's especially after Shattered Space. Like, how do you give that game a shot in the arm after a failure like that? It's like you bring it to new customers. So it's definitely. I wonder if for the companies they've bought, that's going to be the new rule of thumb for how they approach it. But I think they will keep things multi-plat because I think someone else is calling the shots who just wants to see the game revenue pour in. And they have to hit those goals. I think they're obligated to hit whatever goals are being set. And so they're doing whatever they can to do so, even if it's very much hurting the optics of the company. As for the reset, I think everyone's answer is different. I think a lot of people, there's a victim complex with Xbox fans that doesn't get talked about enough. I experience it all the time. Anytime I'm like, I think fairly critical of this company, it's like of course. And then you're going to say this, aren't you? Like, it's like that very much like, I deal with it all the fucking time. And I'm like, dude, stop. Like, they're a fucking big corporation that makes a shit ton of money. They're not going out of business. They're okay. We can critique them. But there's a victim complex that I think people just want the excitement back for Xbox because it was there. It really was there.
It was.
2021 was a big burst. That 2023 was also really exciting. That was a great year for Xbox, I felt, in the terms of just releases outside of Redfall. Like, everything there, I was like very excited about. And delivered for me in different ways. Some I played more than others. Like, I didn't play a ton of Forza Motorsport, but I played a lot of Starfield, played a lot of Hi-Fi Rush. Like, there was a reason to fire up the Xbox. And I think people miss that excitement. Gamers, like, that's the key to everything. Gamers just want to be excited. And I think Xbox has enough tools to do that. And I think the way you command that sort of attention is they've had amazing showcases like 2-3 years in a row in the summer. It's clear that just commanding great game announcements and reveals isn't pushing them over. You need to be like, we're here, new hardware. This is what's coming out. Go buy it. And if that doesn't work, then you just look at your software and just call it a day, I think. But I think that is why people want the reset, because you have to kind of stoke the flames of interest again, because you lost your window. And I feel like you do get that window once a generation, really, to be like, choose us instead of them. What happens if you go ahead of your competitor who's launching a Pro model, who is, with some decisions, not all, some decisions, looking a little out of touch? They're creating this Apple-like ecosystem. how can you leverage that to your benefit? And I feel like they have an opening there to do some of that. The problem is that I think Xbox will maybe balk on going first and doing an early start to the generation strictly because of you see the reaction to PS5 Pro. It's like people aren't ready to pay that much for a system, and they're about to learn the hard way when the new generation comes in, and they're close to $1,000, if not beyond that with tax and everything. So that's the other thing that might hold them back is like, oh, great, I don't have the money for this. Look at the economy. So they're in a shitty spot, dude. It's really, I'm sure they sit there and for days, weeks, months have talks about what the fuck do we do? Like, there's no 100% right choice here, I think, at least.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Ben, what do you think about all of this?
So many things. I definitely echo a lot of, what Matty said as far as we just don't know what they're doing and they won't tell us. And I think that Xbox intentionally obfuscates numbers. I don't know if there's a bigger strategy at hand. Like, you could make the case that they're just waiting for the right moment to reveal how great they're doing. I think the more, the more obvious answer is the numbers don't look as good as the revenue does. So if they put the numbers out, they're going to draw a lot more ire upon themselves and decrease awareness or enthusiasm about the brand even more. I think that what we gamers want, us more hardcore folks and people who are listening to the show want from games is we want really cool boxes that make games look awesome and play awesome. And we want phenomenal games. And we miss the fact that what everybody, but we're talking about Xbox here, wants is money. And they want that money in whatever way they need to get it. So right now, cloud gaming and Game Pass are really the big things. Like they want enthusiasm in the brand. They want a new box. They want people to be excited again. But that's talking about the Xbox leadership. When we're talking about Microsoft leadership, what they want is deliverables for their shareholders. And so if they're telling, Phil and Matt and whoever else at the top of Xbox to focus on specific things that generate revenue, they're less concerned about, what the next box is. And who cares if people aren't making stuff for the Series S? Are people still subscribed to Game Pass? Is that number growing? And so I think it's just a hard place to be in as hardcore gamers who want a new cool device to realize that, oh yeah, this is still a corporation that works off of gross revenue and net profits and not customer sentiment entirely. And to that point, Matty, you mentioned the handheld. I think that they have a shot at being the dominant handheld.
Yeah.
If they have native Game Pass.
Yeah.
Because there's all sorts of other handhelds right now that can support cloud-based. And yeah, the world is going more towards cloud gaming and people like cloud gaming and it is getting better and they're putting a focus on it. But there are still the hardcore that are never going to play cloud games unless they absolutely have no other option. And you give people an option between, I could play these games on cloud or I could play these games natively, and they're going to play it natively, even if they have to lower their settings and stuff like that almost every time. So I guess it is a little hard for people to justify. Like right now, if Xbox didn't have the parity thing, the parity between the Series X and S, if they didn't say your game has to release on both, then I think people would be like, okay, well, we're making, developers make the game the best they can, and then they have to optimize it, right? They have to optimize it to get it onto the hardware that can contain it. So right now they're doing that for PS5, and that's all you got to do on the Sony side. On the Xbox side, you have to do it for X and S. It's obviously harder to optimize your game even further down for the S than it is for the X. And when you have the Pro model coming in, and now you're looking at, you have to put out, if you want to put it out for Pro, that means you also have to scale it down to Series S. And so when you're looking at that development time and you're like, well, the best experience is going to be on the PS5 Pro, just for argument's sake here. The best experience is going to be on the PS5 Pro. And so we can optimize it down one level and get it to the Series X and the regular PS5. But then we got to do another level for the Series S. You know what? Why don't we just skip Xbox? We'll make more money if we spend less development time. And so it's the self-fulfilling prophecy of, the more we tell them they need to optimize, the less likely they're going to do that for those consoles. And so I think moving forward, I think we all thought it was a great idea for Xbox to come out with the Series S when they did, but it was just shooting themselves in the foot moment when it became evident that people were not as easily able to adapt their games for the Series S as they were for for console parity on everything else. So that's a really long way of me saying none of us have any real knowledge or interest. But if I were a betting man, I'd say instead of seeing more games come to Xbox, we see less games come to Xbox once the Pro comes out for the people who are optimizing for the Pro. Because I want to reiterate that point. People are not taking their games and being like, oh, let's make it better for the Pro. It's the opposite. They're having to take their games and say, we got to scale it down even more for the Series S. Games are already made on high-end PCs. That's where they're made, and they port them. They bring them down to the consoles. They don't start at a PS5 Series X level and work up for the Pro. That's a bunch of word salad. I don't know what I said there.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I just one final observation, Matty, and I want to know because I talked to some of my friends recently, some of my real life friends that most of them just play on PC. That's where they play. They're playing like Dota and stuff like that, or Deadlock. But a couple of them, I think maybe like one or two of them has a Switch. And if I was talking to them about consoles, and if they got a console, all of them said they would get PS5. No one even brought up Xbox. Do you think Xbox kind of has like some sort of stink on it, Matty? Like I remember Cog told a story on your show about one of his friends was playing like NBA or something on it like that, and it shows what platform you're on. And people were avoiding him because he's on Xbox.
It's so funny.
Do you think this is like an overblown thing, or do you think there's something actually there?
It's so interesting because I guess when I think about it, most people I know who are not like in our space where we just kind of play where we want to play, we're just in the games, there is a natural gravitation to PlayStation I've recognized, but I don't know if personally I've noticed like if like there's an ick to it, like, oh,
right,
playing Xbox.
Yeah.
But I do think generally speaking right now there is a low, and since they announced the when they did that business update, I mean, I think the best thing I can always point to, not to make it about social media, but the best thing I can really point to is like, look, dude, a lot of the grifters for Xbox, a lot of like the fanboy Twitter accounts for Xbox, they kind of just fucking faded to the wind with that announcement, dude, because there was nothing to defend anymore for them. They're like, this was a killing blow in a lot of ways. And
they either faded to the wind or they started grifting for PlayStation instead.
That too.
They made the shift.
That too, right? Like business calls, man.
Yeah.
Motto a little bit, but yeah, man, like a lot of them kind of dipped, and I think that's why there's a touch of a victim complex. Is why now when I get interaction from some Xbox fans, it's typically if I have something critical I've said, and they're like, "Of course you said that." I'm just like, that's typically what it is. But you know, it's a shame because I feel bad because it's like not to the fanboy grifter side of things, fuck no, go away. But for the for those who do love the brand a lot, because there's a lot of great history there, and I think this last generation or so, like the fact that people are looking at this and saying, is this worse than the Xbox One, just shows how low the faith is. Because in a lot of ways, like game delivery wise, no, like relevance and power, no, like it. Game Pass, like it's all there, it's way better, but just the optics are so difficult to shift because Xbox has done, they are always aggressive in what they think the future is. The Xbox One taught us that, right? Like they taught us that, like they thought the Kinect and they thought the TV, they're like, this is your all-in-one entertainment box, this is where the industry's going. And to be fair, in some ways they were kind of right. Like, you know, a lot of people use it as the all-in-one entertainment box, but that's not how it should have been marketed. You know, the DRM thing, like you're going to play these games digitally. And they were right. Like most games are purchased digitally now, but it wasn't at that time. So when Xbox sees a shift that they think is happening, they go aggressive and they see the shift saying these walls are growing. We need to knock them down. We need to go multi-plat. And they're heading aggressively in that direction, probably half a decade or more quicker than PlayStation will do it. And probably a decade and a half quicker than Nintendo, maybe even longer. Nintendo will ever do it. And same thing with Valve and all these other companies, like they strike first. And so they get a lot of resistance from their consumers, I think. And some view them as boundary breakers, like, oh, fuck yeah, you're doing that. Cool. And And so I guess I sympathize on both sides of the coin, but sticky situation they're in, man. And I don't envy the decision makers there, because there's, again, the problem they have is there's no real right, because the problem is there are easy right decisions to make, but you'd have to reverse course so hard and make so many PR blanket statements, which is their biggest weakness, is having everyone saying consistently the same thing at the same time to understand a company mantra there. They all just talk about their own beliefs. Which is like, oh, I think we're going to do this multiplier. It's like, it feels like, I believe in exclusives. And it's like, well, fuck, which is it, guys? So yeah, it's a tough situation for them to be in right now.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, we definitely don't want Xbox to go anywhere. We want them in the industry still. We want that competition. Sure. We can't let Nintendo and Sony and whoever else get too comfortable. Yeah. Gotta have the feet to their fire at all times.
I agree. Xbox is a lot of people. I mean, this has been a weird thing in gaming for these last, like, really in 2024. I've noticed is just a championing of, like, I hope BioWare goes out of business. I hope Ubisoft goes out of business. I hope Xbox goes out of business. I'm like, do you guys know what you're really asking for with this? Like, that shit shouldn't just go away. It should be reformed. Like, that's what should happen. Bethesda, as someone who's covered them for years, people have been begging for them to go away for like over a decade now. I'm just like, do you get what you're asking for with this? Like, the amount of loss that comes with that beyond talent is, I think, like, just no one can really calculate it. Just so much to it for them just to go out of business.
Well, people are quick to pull the trigger when it doesn't affect them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the people were championing, like, oh, Tencent's going to buy Ubisoft. Great. I'm like, do you fucking understand what this means, man? Like, do you get that? No, clearly not, obviously. It's a rhetorical question, but, like, man, I could go on. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's great. But that's it, boys. We are done. Another episode of Summon Sign in the books.
Yeah.
Ben, Matty, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Love talking to both of you guys. Matty, thank you for the double weeks also.
Oh, of course.
You're free for a while now.
Oh, you ask me whenever you need me, of course. But yeah, when I missed the original week when I was sick, I told you, I said I want to double up, make sure I got your back, because I didn't want you to scramble for guests or anything. So thank you for having me on twice, man. It was great.
Yeah, Ben, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Always love chatting with you as well.
My pleasure.
That's it. Yeah, guys, anything you want to say before we head out, or should we just sign off?
I'm good, bro.
Get out of here.
All right. Everybody, thank you for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. We appreciate it. We will see you next episode. Adios. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.